This One-Up podcast is brought to you by Hail to the Chimp from Gamecock Media. Hail to the Chimp is a fast-paced party game about 10 animals fighting to become the next ruler of the animal kingdom. Packed with bare-knuckle brawling, lush interactive environments, and a talking woodchuck, it's the best selection you'll see this year. Available June 24th on PS3 and Xbox 360.
Hey everybody, great to be back. It's Friday, June 27th, One Up Yours, and the group is back together again, including Sean Elliott with us today also, which is awesome.
Rare treat.
Yeah, I know.
We just went to a GFW event.
Dude, I'm tweaked.
So it's
the future is bright. You got to wear shades.
I'm totally tweaked. So this is Scarlet. I've got Andrew right here with microphone headset on to both.
Welcome back.
To both do it all, and Shane's here, and Shane brought the refreshments for us. Thank you, Shane.
2-drink minimum.
I'm down with that. And Philip, dude, I love having you here for the news.
I brought the news.
Philip brought the news.
Philip Kolar, a.k.a. Luke Smith 3.0.
I think we could just go by my name. That would be...
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Philip Kolar 1.0. Garnet, did you listen to last week's show? No, you said you would. You said you would. I know it takes a long time to overdub your voice over mine, so that could be the delay.
A lot of people really felt that Skip did a pretty good job hosting the show.
You know what? I have no doubt Andrew did get a great job. I mean, dude, he's a good guy at this. He knows what the hell he's doing. It's no big surprise.
We're called the West Coast Avengers, I believe.
I like that.
Is that what were Vision and Scarlet Witch?
Yes.
Yeah, they were my favorites.
Actually,
I'm
honestly,
the Scarlet Witch of the West Coast Avengers.
Well, you are a Scarlet Witch.
Thank you.
Dude,
the Scarlet Witch tapped her brother, just so you know.
Who was her brother?
Quicksilver.
Don't judge me, man.
They're both Magneto's children.
Wow. You haven't seen his sister, so who knows?
Is Quicksilver on X-Force?
Yes.
This is getting nerdy.
Yeah, it is.
Getting?
It really is.
Anyway, dude, you know how much we've invested in this. Didn't it make you happy to know that they did a great show last week?
No, I was kind of bummed actually.
Why?
They don't need us.
Some people did say I miss Garnet and Shane will not listen.
Other
Whatever.
Other people are this is the New World Order. I love it.
You should listen anyway, man. It's like a good show. I'm so glad that you guys did a real show. Totally fucking happy about that.
Thanks. I was just messing around. Just want to have a
And I do
party.
want to listen to it. How much have you seen me this week?
None.
I know, it sucks.
I missed you.
I missed you too. We had lunch today.
I know.
It was touching.
All right, moving on.
Yes.
A lot to get to.
We do have a lot to get to. So today's show is going to be a big show of games because it's been a while since we've been here. Shane and I have been off seeing tons of games. Shane, of course, was all the way over in Europe to do Killzone for the cover story of EGM. I got a chance to see it at a Sony event. We've been to a ton of events. We played a bunch of games. So that's going to be the second segment. First segment, we're going to do the more normal sort of what you've been playing, which will be like what we're actually playing. I fixed it. It was me.
Okay.
So we're going to do the more normal sort of playing, what you've been playing in the first segment. And I've got some community stuff that I pulled from the boards this afternoon to also go at the in the beginning of the second segment. And then in the third segment, like you said, Phil brings news. Mm-hmm. News breaks, he fixes it. There you go.
There you go.
And there you have it, folks. All right, so who's going to start off? What you been playing, Andrew?
I have been playing while I was sick on Monday.
Yeah,
he
was sick, air quotes.
No, it's really going around.
It is.
The temperature in San Francisco changed like 60 degrees in 24 hours and made everybody sick.
Also, crazy wildfires in the area, making it really bad.
I woke up coughing because of this.
Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, by the way, while you brought that up, I got to tell you, I've been just sort of casually watching the fires pop up and the way people are covering it. I don't know if we have anybody out there who listens who's a part of any of the CAL FIRE teams, but I am totally in awe of how awesome the CAL FIRE teams have done at dealing with these fires that are popping up all over California. If you're a firefighter or you knew someone in CAL FIRE, please pass along our great thanks because they are unbelievably kicking ass.
That also reminds me of Crispin's great game idea that maybe he'll get to make now that he's out and about. Firefighter fighter?
Firefighter fighter?
Yeah, it's a
fighter. What?
Fighter. It's a fighting game full of firefighters. It's an idea he had 10 years ago.
It sounds like a calendar option.
I believe they are in various states of undress in his game doc, design doc. Anyway.
Speaking of fire, I spent all Monday sick recovering playing as Pyro in Team Fortress 2.
Sweet.
And I only got 5 achievements.
You didn't go the Ryan Scott method of cheaping out on it?
I'm having this internal debate whether or not to do that because I feel really bad trying to put personal gain ahead of the team, especially in a game like Team Fortress. I don't want to go for these ridiculous conditions.
Dude, don't do it.
We should point out also, somebody brought up in the forums yesterday, last week, we talked about the TF2 achievements for Pyro, and somebody pointed out one of the ways that Valve is fixing that, trying to force people to farm for crazy achievements, you don't have to actually unlock all of them to unlock all of the weapons this time around.
It's tiered.
Which we didn't talk about. So worth pointing that out.
But even after like a full day of playing as Pyro, I only managed to get like 5 of them.
If you go in and juke the achievements and the rewards, you're just cheating yourself out of the reward of getting them.
Yeah, well, at the same time, like I'm playing and I want to get the new like Backburner, the new one, because I kept getting burned up by other guys. I'm like, I want this.
Maybe it's
really handy.
better the old Battlefield 2 way, where there were a number of unlocks and you chose them. It was based on the points that you accumulated.
Yeah,
and so like you get the points by playing well, not by doing.
And I was playing well. I had the best day at TF2 I've had in a long, long time. But I don't know.
You don't know what?
I don't know. The whole achievement system, it's troublesome.
I agree with Sean. I think the point system in Battlefield worked really well.
It was fine. I jumped in. Were you playing on PC? We're going to have to play sometime.
I was playing
some of that too. It was really weird, though. There's like a 1-up GFW server, and I went in.
Yeah.
And we went in there, and I changed my name before I went in just because I really didn't,
It can change the battlefield a little bit.
And then like next thing we start hearing. Well, first we were playing like "Ooh La La Bebe," like Jordy, the little French kid. He was like the 3-year-old that had that song.
Oh yeah.
Pourquoi si, pourquoi ça?
Wow, I haven't thought about Jordy in like 8 years, dude.
But then the next thing,
he's probably like 20 years old now.
He probably is, man.
Anyway.
He's got a rap album now. So someone started playing like a voice clip of like a Hero of the Web from GFW, and then that was really awkward. And then so I had to like use the Ralphie voice and be like, yell at him. I'm not going to use it now because people hate it, but like tell him like to turn that shit off. It's not funny.
Yeah.
And then it was like, it got weird.
Yeah, I have a couple of favorite servers I've bookmarked, and I just regularly stick to like 3 or 4 different servers, and most of the people I'm playing with are pretty cool. So.
Okay. That's cool.
And then
are there any servers out there that it was a big server farm that I used to like play on down in Houston called Thunderdome. Does Thunderdome still run servers?
They probably
they
do.
ran good servers.
There's tons and tons and tons of servers.
Yeah, so random thought popped in my head. I don't know why. Forget it.
And then
give a shout out to your Thunderdome people, though, man.
Those good servers.
Thunderdome.
Beyond the Thunderdome.
All week, I've been playing Alone.
That was UTEETH servers.
Alone in the Dark.
Also, speaking of fire.
Speaking
of Mark McDonald.
Speaking of Mark McDonald on fire.
What's the residuals on that cover shot?
Which version are you playing?
I'm playing the 360 version.
The Wii has gestural controls.
And yeah, but this game's not good.
I wanted to. The sad thing is, I haven't played it, but I really wanted to like it because it seemed like a fresh approach to the series. And if you read, as I did on a podcast a few weeks ago, like if you go on the official blog, like the dude who made this game, he's like a super fan, and like he like tells why he loves it all, and this idea he had 10 years ago when he went to.
You can totally see all that.
Here's what I've been playing that too. That's the primary game I've been playing, and the one thing that I can tell, this is basically like Atari's big summer action flick, and it plays like an action movie, and they've thrown everything into it. Like it's a first-person game, it's a third-person game, it's a racing game. It's got like everything you can imagine in it, but none of it's done very well.
Yeah, what does it do well?
It
Not
does.
Much of it.
Yeah, it really doesn't do anything particularly well.
Does it do like the basic survival horror Silent Hill, like it looks good, I'm with a flashlight, I'm kind of scared?
Some of it looks good. You're kind of scared at some points, but it's just so cheesy, and it's just been it's everything about it has been done.
The one thing that I do like is that, and I talked about this last week, and it's continued as I've continued in the game, they do a good job of making you feel very immersed in the game.
Yeah.
Like once you get into a car, for example, you can look around the car, you can pull down the thing and see if there's a key. You can
even move into the back seat.
Yeah, you can move to the back seat or the passenger seat.
The passion seat.
Yeah, passion seat. You can move to the passion seat
for a quick time event.
Yes,
but then the actual like combat and exploration is not.
The combat
is
terrible.
Combat is really awful.
It is just completely
it's
terrible.
Like bad compared to Silent Hill, even.
It's really frustrating because they do a good job of giving you a ton of options in combat. Like there's a bunch of different ways you can take out enemies.
Yeah.
All of them involving fire because you have to kill enemies with fire.
That's the only. Yeah, that's the only way they're susceptible to.
But there's a bunch of ways to do that. Like you can pour gasoline on your bullets and shoot fire bullets. You can throw stuff that's flammable at them and then blow it up in midair. Like there's a bunch of different things to do, but it never feels right. Like it's always just really clunky.
Yeah. Especially the biggest thing for me is the transition between the third person and the first person is just so inconsistent and arbitrary.
Yeah. Can you tear ass on a lighter in first person?
That's the only. Well, you can use the lighter to light up your way in first person, but in order to like light anything on fire, you have to go into third person. and there's just these moments in the game where it automatically kicks you out of whatever view you prefer to be in at the most inopportune time.
I want you to visualize the technical difficulties of animating. So first person, right? Yeah. You look down between your own legs so that you can fart on a lighter.
Hold on.
That's tearing ass. So that you fart on a lighter and create a combustible burst, but then how it would look, like the world would be upside down.
I think Mirror's Edge could pull that off.
Yeah, or maybe Monolith.
You flip around, drop trow, and spark it up.
So all the negative reviews.
Is there like a meter? So like a meter. So like if you're pushing on that, you like blow the meter.
If you push too hard, you get a prolapse rectum.
Wow.
Boys.
All right.
Wow. Anyway,
sorry. Did you do our review? Because I saw we are.
No, Nick did the review.
We're actually on the higher crest of.
Nick likes some stuff that I haven't been like. He really liked the driving in the game. I think the driving segments are terrible. It's the first driving segment, I spent like an hour doing it over and over again because if you mess up just one little bit and then you'll die and then you have to start from the beginning of that driving segment. It's like Stuntman basically.
Yeah,
that's fun.
But without any checkpoints at all.
That's exactly how it looked when they brought it by and there's like the earthquake scene going on.
That's the first driving one that I talked about.
That's the unfortunate thing because all these like scripted events are really cool. Like New York City is crumbling, but the first time you restart it and do it again and see everything again, it just immediately loses the effect.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Right. This is exactly what we told them. Is like if you're going to do something like this where it's highly scripted, this seemingly high stakes thing, it has to be as easy as possible because every time someone dies and starts this over again, you're losing every bit of magic that you've been working so hard to create.
And so that's how it fooled us when we went and saw that like short, like how long? We played it for like 30 minutes or something.
And that's the best foot forward for that game is the first 30 minutes.
Really?
It's just I don't know. It's unfortunate because Shane was right. You really want to like it because the whole item combination thing was really cool, but it just doesn't come together.
Yeah, that's really a bummer because when we played it at that event and when we finally got out into Central Park, I was like, okay, this could open up and be really cool.
Yeah, but the first time you encounter a mob of zombies, you don't want to fight them because it's so annoying to do it, so you just run away.
And I mean, Nick did say that the tail end of the game, it does open up like that, and he said it's a lot more interesting. I haven't gotten there yet, so
I'm getting there.
I'll have finished it by next week, and maybe I can comment on that. But
the whole episodic thing too, like if you're going to ape TV, then put your own video game twist on it because.
They really totally aped TV.
Yeah, weren't you extolling how amazing its narrative was?
No,
on this podcast?
not how amazing the narrative was. I thought the idea of the way they were doing episodic, but within a single disc, like you buying a season disc of 24 or something, was kind of cool idea.
I kind of like that. Like I don't mind that, but
the whole concept is great. But the way they did is like clearly this is not as good as even like 24's presentation.
Yeah.
It's still video
is it
game
too
developers.
easy because the way they're showing it, like you could actually skip chapters or whatever. You'd be like, fuck it, I can't do this.
You can skip like even little sub things in the chapters. Like if you come on one puzzle that you're
stuck
on.
They call them sequences, I think.
You skip a sequence, but if you do that, then you lose everything in your inventory.
Weird.
Is the story dispensable?
That's the punishment?
Yeah.
If you lose everything? Well, that's fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, it's just weird things like that. And the story is... Yeah, it's pretty much like
predictable.
An evil force hits New York, and you have to figure out...
Nick and I talked about it on the One Up show, too, this week, and I think the way that... we described it was not awful or like not embarrassing, but not remotely good.
Right.
What is embarrassing is the cursing. It's like we're 13 years old and when we just found out these awesome bad words.
Fuck everything? Or?
Yeah.
Dude,
every single character is like...
Not the first video game to do that.
Well, duh, but this one revels in it.
Nor the first podcast.
Yeah. It's a little hypocritical for us to say it, but...
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
Anyway. Clean it up for the kids, all right?
I know. Like, there's that whole thread. Should the podcast be cleaned up?
Clean it up.
No. Next subject. All right.
I'm done.
You're done?
That's a downer.
It's a downer. Next week, I'm going to play some more Deadliest Catch, I think.
All right, Philip, bring it back for us.
That's it. That's all I've been playing.
That's all you've been playing?
Yeah. I did go and pick up Operation Darkness, which I've heard is awful because I'm an Atlas fanboy.
You spent money on it?
Yes.
Really?
I did. I really did.
Where you're like, this 35 Metascore, that sounds like a good use of my 6359.
I'm an Atlas fanboy. I want to check it out.
Dude, okay, I've been playing Atlas games since you were like in grade school, and I'm not about to go waste $60 on like a shitty Idea Factory game.
I think Andrew's doing the math over there.
How old are you?
Old.
Well, anyways, I'm going to talk about that next week. We'll see if I think it sucks also.
Have you seen how much trouble he's having trying to grow in that goatee? He's getting out there, man. He's getting old.
Keep your receipt.
Okay, I'll do that.
So wait a minute, you bought this purely as I'm a supporter of Atlas. I'm going to go buy this just to support the title, just to support the publisher.
Yes.
Huh?
See, I was once like
I can almost endorse that.
I was once like you. It was like 10 years ago. I worked at EB, and then they released Eggs of Steel, and I'm like, Atlas, I'm not going to buy Eggs of Steel.
I will admit I have no idea what Eggs of Steel is,
It's
but
a game,
I want it.
It's a platformer with rendered graphics where you're an egg, and it's developed by the people who made the movie Babe.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, go buy that if you love Atlas so much.
You talked me out of it.
Dude, Victor Ireland built an entire empire off this theory, so
This is true.
there you go. All right. Who wants to go next? Shane? Me?
Mine are worse.
Yours are worse?
Well, I played like 20 games last week, but we can't talk about most of them, and those I can talk about we're saving
No,
for
we're talking
for
about
the second
game,
segment.
What did you actually play for yourself?
For
Well,
pleasure.
I've been playing nothing for pleasure because I've been very busy trying to catch up with work, but I have been playing one game for review.
All right, well, what's that?
That's Mr. Slime for the DS. Want to hear more
I've never even
about
heard
Mr.
of it.
I do.
You're so excited.
Tell me more.
It's French, and you're like a.
You say that with such disdain. Like,
It's very French, and you're a slime.
Tell me more.
Do they sing Fudafafa?
It's weird. It's a platformer where there's non-violent, and Mr. Slime is this hideous thing with 6 arms, and you just touch where you want to go.
All right, he's told me enough.
Yeah, it's
I mean, really, he's told me enough.
it's not horrible, but
It's French.
it's very French.
Alone in the Dark for DS, the slime, whatever, it's the same difference.
Nick Sutter's making me review this. That's all I know.
Why is Nick making? What does Nick hate you? Did you piss Nick off?
So far, I would not necessarily pre-order Mr. Slime.
haven't-
I'm still playing it.
Hey, you can be in my shoes. I haven't seen a review. I haven't seen review code in.
Would you like to take Mr. Slime?
No, not at all.
Alone in the Dark.
No.
Okay.
No.
Stop
Well,
complaining.
but what I want to be playing is Soul Calibur 4, which
Yes.
allegedly we're getting in a week or so. And tomorrow we're getting from Nintendo that crazy Wario game for Wii. And I'm very curious about that because
What's this?
We're getting it tomorrow?
yes, and it's a 2D Wario platformer for Wii.
whoa.
Developed by this new developer, and people on the internet seem to think it looks amazing.
2D platformer, I'm interested.
I seem to think it looks like a ripoff, and it's like 4x3, like smush. It doesn't even have widescreen.
A rip-off
Really?
of what?
Like a ripoff of your money. We'll see.
Is it a WiiWare game?
No, it's full
full
retail
Wii.
game. And like, people are like, the graphics look amazing. I'm like, no, it looks like a 2D platformer for N64. I don't even. We'll
It
see.
doesn't look like N64. It looks clean.
N64
looks
2D
crisp.
looked clean. Go play Mischief Makers.
I mean, it doesn't look like Paper Mario or anything like that.
It looks a little bit like Paper Mario, but
Who's the developer?
They're new.
They're brand new.
They're new.
Come on, they must have some people from some place. They just like walk.
They-
Let's
the
go make
2D,
Nintendo
the
games.
2D Wario Land games
They-
were like some of the best.
They could
2D
be.
games
They
ever.
could be ex-Suzak employees. I'm not sure.
I didn't know it was a new developer. I thought it was.
But
like the
nobody's actually even seen it in motion. But yet the Nintendo fans are already decided it's like Game of the Year. So we're actually going to play it and let you know.
What was the Kirby Game Boy game that had the sensor in it that it was like tilt and tumble?
Tilt and tumble.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be an excellent game for a Wiimote.
Yeah.
That would be a good game for Wiimote.
I want a canvas curse for Wii.
Well,
I think.
yeah.
WarioWare Twist is still one of my favorite games of all time. I love it.
The reason
Love
that
it.
I brought that up, the non sequiturs, I was thinking like it's weird that they farm out Wario to their C teams.
Yeah.
But I was like, but yeah, sometimes that happens with a lot, and I was thinking of like I was wondering who made those Kirby games. I'm like, yeah, sometimes some good stuff comes out of those people.
Kirby's always by Hal.
I know something else you've been playing.
What?
World of Warcraft.
Not lately.
Oh,
I got back into it and then I fell off the horse again. I still have an active account. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Level 46 now, which is the highest I've ever been. So.
Didn't I read that like one of their patches brought mounts to
Yes,
level 30?
and I was going to bring that up last week. Like after spending 2 years of working to level 40 off and on, and
You can't complain about that
I know, but it's just like
Why is there a World of Warcraft song on Rock Band this week?
because the big
Synergy.
announcement this weekend.
Synergy.
Dude, big announcement is like, are you surprised? By the way, they're called Actiblision.
Yeah, but like as a console gamer, I'm like, what is this Warcraft? I don't understand.
what?
I think that
I don't
most
think so.
console gamers have probably heard of Warcraft.
Yeah, I suspect they may have heard about it someplace.
Is it free?
Yes,
I
it's
was
free.
gonna hope so.
Yeah, you're gonna rock that while you're getting ready to stand around in your pajamas and watch the internet for the Diablo 3 announcement. Right?
We hope so.
It's got to be that.
After
It's gotta be.
It's such a unless they're pulling the worst bait and switch ever.
Yeah.
Like how they've been unveiling each day. Like today's, it's got like eyes that match up perfectly 1-to-1 with the devil's eyes from the box art for Diablo 2.
Even they couldn't get away with like backpedaling on this one if it wasn't that, could they?
I don't know. It seems so obvious.
It would be pretty awesome if it turned out to just be the announcement of the release date for Wrath of the Lich King and nothing else. And everybody's just like...
I think Scooter was like, oh, it's World of Warcraft on Blu-ray.
No, Warcraft Adventures. That's what he said.
That'd be big.
That's why the ice is blue in the teaser image. It's coming to Blu-ray.
What do you think? So since we opened up the Diablo 3 thing just for a second, like, what do you think Diablo 3 needs to be successful?
I don't know. I'm like the worst person to ask because those types of games have traditionally like bored me. And the various versions that came to consoles and stuff, but I could be wrong. I'm hoping it's just something different. I'm hoping it's not like let's make dungeons with a bunch of monsters and a bunch of loot.
A friend and I were talking about it, and he suggested that it's probably going to be like more Guild Wars-esque almost. So like sort of their version of the free MMO, in which case Guild Wars 2 is probably in a lot of trouble.
Well, like the biggest people that got to be scared is Sacred, right? Like Sacred 2.
Yeah,
we've seen Sacred 2 a couple
Although
times.
That'll be out well in advance of whenever this comes out.
It will be out well in advance of that, and the PS3 version, which has just been announced, is looking really sweet. Like they did a really good job on that. So, I don't know. I think for Diablo, like the key, like you said, not be a loot fest. I think Diablo has to kind of be a loot fest.
Maybe this is Blizzard's chance. I mean, after they get so much criticism for being just so conservative, with StarCraft, but the reason being is because the Koreans in the tournament play. I mean, this is their chance. No one's playing tournament Diablo. Like,
right?
Show us what you can do.
And there was a huge community that played Diablo on the hardcore servers where, it's like you die and that's it, dude, you're dead.
Right.
The other problem, of course, is that, like World of Warcraft basically is a lot like Diablo. So, I mean, they've got to make something that stands apart from that, too.
But the big difference is this. Like, one of the things that was really cool about Diablo was every time you went back into the world, it was randomly generating a tile set. So I think that, like, tile setting has gotten really boring and stayed. If they could come up on a variation where they could randomly generate levels that were really cool and you could have that high replayability factor.
Thing though,
it is a really difficult thing,
especially with 3D graphics. I mean, like look at the trouble Hellgate came into.
Oh yeah,
it said everything looks uniformly bleak and bleary, but you get into these situations where you get deja vu. You're repeating tiles and you don't recognize that you've been there. The normal logic of game design doesn't apply. Where like if you see that there's a platform and you can get up on some walkway, in a normal game you'd say, the only reason that is there is because they're going to put something up there for me to pick up, some kind of treat or something, a puzzle. But like in Hellgate, it's just there. You just go through and you're like, oh, it's that thing again.
For no reason.
Sometimes there's a monster up there and sometimes there's not. I mean, yeah, I'm skeptic about the randomly generated levels too. But again, that's just because I've seen, Hellgate's the most recent example of it, and it's that.
But even if you're just trying to design a bunch of levels, we've talked to the agency guys who are doing the spy fiction MMO thing, and one of the things they were talking about is the quantity of content you have to generate in a 3D world to do an MMO is tremendous, and in order to do that, you have to generate some, tile-like art assets that you use in over and over and over, but you still have to find a way to keep it interesting, because otherwise it just becomes, a repetitious, I've seen this level, I've seen, there's around this corner, there's this, because I played this tile before.
I think Diablo 3 could have really cool graphics, because you said their hands are kind of tied with StarCraft, and we all know what WoW looks like, so this is their chance to actually do something new and visually interesting. And
I don't think I think that if they do something like visual style, it'll be definitely like you look at it and you go, oh, that's a Blizzard game.
Right. They've developed like the Blizzard house style, and I think now it's served them so well. I can't imagine it's going to look like Titan Quest or something.
Yeah, but do you think it's going to look like World of Warcraft and that it's like a little cartoony? I think it should look more.
I think it will.
I think it should look a little more realistic.
Well, look at StarCraft. StarCraft. It's like. It's the same thing. If like someone's like, I'm going to make a sci-fi version of my fantasy game, it's like that. I mean, they.
Here's my question. Do you guys think this will be PC only, or do you think it will
finally... Oh, it's multi-platform.
You think so?
It's got to be.
Are you really?
Yeah.
You think because Activision wants them to, or because Blizzard actually changing the way they approach game design?
I think because it's not an MMO, or at least I don't think it's going to be an MMO, that not being an MMO fits very well on these consoles, that these consoles can deliver the art quality that they want to match up to their character art and their design art and their their environmental art, and that opening that broad spectrum of audience just makes sense.
And you probably won't need like the keyboard stuff for Diablo.
Yeah.
You don't think Microsoft would make it worth their while to have like another huge like tentpole release for games for Windows?
It would probably be nicer for Microsoft. It was on 360 as well, so.
Well, yeah, Activision. Activision is games for Windows on World at War.
Sean, didn't you just come from like the games for Windows, everything is okay summit?
Real quick, back that up. Activision didn't. Oh wait, World at War. Oh, the COD.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, they are okay.
That's getting tagged, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry.
So maybe they would tag it, but I don't think that after what we talked to Kevin about yesterday, I don't think that it's been their strategy with games for Windows to go out after exclusives. I mean, that was one of the things actually they singled out and said that they weren't really doing. They're like, oh, we don't need big exclusives for games for Windows. We just need good games.
Do you think that's kind of reactionary to Crisis Warhead not being a PC exclusive? Or like them being like, oh, we don't need those exclusives. We're fine. We got other games.
Dude, I think that everything about games for Windows right now is about spin doctoring because they're in a tough spot.
Hey, I hear that Hellgate London has 1 million subscribers.
That's what they say.
In Korea.
Are we going to talk about the GFW stuff like in the next segment or this one? I mean, because there's a whole lot there.
We could spin it in here. Let's spin it in the next segment. How far are we into this segment?
We're about a half an hour.
All right, so let's wrap this one up then, and we'll move on to the
Sean
next
hasn't talked about what he's.
And I haven't talked about what I've been playing. So you guys want to get mad at me more about Metal Gear Solid now, or do you want to wait till the?
I saw your Facebook update, and I just feel sad for you.
Why do you feel sad for me?
I'm just sad that you can't enjoy it in the way that a lot of my friends and I did.
I have been enjoying it. So I want to clear something up right now because this is the exact same damn thing that happened when I was saying that a certain game at a THQ event looked okay. It's not that I said it looked like, oh my god, gorgeous. I just said
you became famous as the lone lover of that game.
I know. I'm like, I'm not loving it. I'm like, it's good. It's not horrible. My problem with
my thing is like if you're setting down the controller during Act 2, I can't wait to see you do during Act 4. Like like Act 2.
Why am I supposed to hold it?
Act 2 is the gameplay peak of that game, and there's really exciting gameplay.
Wait, you're talking about setting down the controller during the cutscenes?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Why should I not do that?
No, like what was your Facebook update?
Dude, you didn't press X to see a low-res image from Metal Gear Solid 1, man.
Which flashes on the screen so fast that you're like, what? What's that? Oh.
No, Garnet was talking about the Raiden fight at the end of Act 2. Spoiler, Raiden fight.
Dude. You're supposed to say spoiler tag goes first.
Like during the cutscenes, I mean, yeah, like that's your time to relax. Like I would kick back and lay on my couch.
And it wasn't just the cutscenes. It was that. Okay, so that whole sequence. I'll try not to be too spoiler heavy, but if you've not played it yet,
that sequence was shown at last year's E3.
Okay, so my problem with the whole sequence, the whole sequence of events that end Act 2 was this: first, you have your first battle with the beasts, the beauty beasts, right?
I believe is a really fun creative boss battle.
Really, dude? That was like a war of attrition. You wear it down, you wear it down, and then when it goes to its final form, you're like, oh, boom, 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 you're dead.
You just described every boss battle of all time.
Laughing Octopus?
Yeah, Laughing Octopus is a really fun boss battle.
I don't think it was that fun, dude.
It didn't work that way for me. I mean,
there's
for
different
me, it was
ways
like
to approach
you
it.
shoot her, you hear her laugh, and you go play hide and seek, and you sit there and stare at her, take a picture if you want, and shoot her with the rocket, and then run, shoot her again, play hide and seek. I mean, it wasn't like
that robot. That's not really the Mark II. That's the camo? No, seriously. Shade's giving me the most hateful look. It's awesome.
You can think whatever you want. I don't really care.
So here's what I think. I enjoy the action part of the game a lot. The parts of the game where I'm like in the environment doing a combination of like I can like free form. I can sneak and stealth if I want to, or I can like pull out the gun and go guns blazing if I want to. I think that part is fantastic, and I wish there was like 10 times as much of it.
Okay.
But
That's fine.
You don't like that?
No, that's fine. Go on.
I wish there was more of that. But when I got to the end of that, like after beating that, so for as melodrama as MGS is, I expected there to be a much larger exposition there in the lab and not go back and get some soliloquy from Drebin about the girls. I'm like, why the fuck is Drebin giving me this shit?
I've gone on the record before. I think that like Drebin's like the post-boss like codex from Drebin, I started skipping those. I think they are the very clumsily handled.
So that's what I was saying.
Right, but for you to say Act 2, I forget the actual Facebook post. It was like the best part of Act 2 I don't actually get to play. And
I don't, because the best part then, Raiden is a fucking badass. He is so cool.
And we've all seen that cutscene, and we all know it's a badass cutscene. But does that make the really fun tracking sequence, or the boss battle, which obviously didn't like, or the cool on-vehicle action sequence?
The on-vehicle scene is awesome.
You're writing all that off. You're like,
no, I'm not. I'm not writing it off. I'm honestly not writing it off.
You're like, the best action part of Act 2 I didn't get to do.
The peak of Act 2, the climax of Act 2 was watching it, where the vehicle stuff that should have been maybe at the end.
What if even if you just flip flop spots? What if I had gotten to seeing all that and then I finished
the pacing? Act 2 is really strange pacing. It's very long, and the boss comes in the middle of it. It's a little weird, but I really like that act. I think it's one of the best acts in the game.
Rather than focus, for me, rather than focus on any one part of it and say that's where something went wrong, I didn't think anything. I mean, I thought that act was enjoyable too, but I think it could have done things better. And the parts for me was not oh my god, I have to play Raiden, but the general sense of every time there's something shown to you, it makes you wish you could play it, and it puts it in contrast. So one immediate contrast there is after you see that fight, you run for like 3 seconds
to
the next load screen.
through that bazaar.
Through the
That's
town.
really
And
weird.
prior to that, there is the cool. I did like the chase sequence, on the Striker, which is Drebin's vehicle. But again, I was thinking how there was so much material in the zombie-like Resident Evil-like section there to have opened it up. And what if in that town you'd prolonged it just a little bit more, give you a little bit more gameplay with these zombies coming after you and the vehicle and stuff. And instead, it was really like a Time Crisis section or something.
Thank you for articulating that for me better than I did.
But I don't mean there's like the mega fan thing. It sucks talking about this game because you know how on Saturday Night Live how they have like the Chicago Bears super fans.
The Bears.
So there's people that sit around. I really think it's like Kojima. Frame rate,
Kojima versus God.
Right, and
and
Kojima 350, Cliffy B
today,
-5.
Right. Today, watching the cult of Kojima versus the cult of Cliffy B, it is kind of scary to watch these people fighting for this. But I remember me playing through MGS4, and I'm playing through it again on hard. It's really fucking hard. And everybody who just complains, oh, there's too much story. I wish it had been done this. I wish it had been done that. I'm like, well, what are you comparing this to? Like, what other stealth action game do you feel presents its narrative in a better manner? Like, what are your standards here? And it's
I think I just heard about 1 million people jump out and go Splinter Cell.
I would argue Splinter Cell's narrative is so boring. It's given.
But I would
it's
argue
given,
that
it's
you
given
haven't
to you.
played much Splinter Cell.
I only played the first.
Furthermore,
I only played the first Splinter
had
Cell.
you played Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, you would know how indebted a great deal of the first 2 acts of Metal Gear Solid 4 are to it.
I can believe that.
Where it was open warfare in Korea. There's a battle going on. There's tanks and stuff, and you're like, that's a great idea. And I thought the same. I was like, too bad that's just one level in the Splinter Cell game because there's the workings of a whole game there.
Right.
And I think that's that's what they did with the first 2 acts. I'm not saying it's a ripoff or anything, but I'm just saying inspiration is.
But I think there's so many people calling out how the narrative is delivered and saying it's not delivered in the best manner it could have been. And I argue, well, I haven't seen games that really do it better. There's a lot more of it here.
That's an unfair argument because it's it's a mixed media production, right? I mean, it's game and movie, and it's and it does both of those things. But it's it'd be like, well, tell me that whatever BioShock's got a better story, and if you're saying that insofar as I can play BioShock, it does. I think people could put that argument, but it's just because it's different. I mean, that's why I said it's kind of unfair because you can do things with non-interactive cinematics that you can't do in normal story. Because it's how am I going to get someone to listen to the stuff that Drebin has to say when really they're going to go and be trying to take pictures of the chick's ass, when she's dead.
Right.
So it's all this kind of stuff, and that's their solution. It's you don't do anything except press a button to see some little snippets or something.
Yeah, and
it does well with what it does.
I think the mission briefings are a really great idea. They thought of a way, how can we make this more interesting, and they did. But yeah, I think you're looking. I think you're looking. I think some
You
people,
think I'm looking for what?
I think some people come in looking.
You're saying that I'm looking for reasons to shoot it down?
I'm saying,
dude, hold on. Let me just stop you right there because I have a limited amount of time to play games on my own time. And I'm playing MGS on my own time, and I absolutely would not have spent. If I was looking to not like it, I would have said fuck it. I would have sat around and read everybody else. I would have parroted Yahtzee's shit over and over and over. Because by the way, Yahtzee ripped it. If people think they need to watch out for me, Yahtzee better have a I don't know
that's his
bodyguard around him.
That's his MO. And
that's the
thing
in the
job.
same way that the clown can get away with making fun of the king. I mean, the court jester can mock the king. It's like that. He's created this dedicated space for himself where you'll even see the most insane fanboys are able to digest it and say that this is funny and laugh along with it because there's no score. The moment Yahtzee starts putting scores on there that go into Metacritic,
oh yeah,
then
I know.
it's another.
So by the way, if you don't know what we're talking about on the Escapist. Yahtzee does these reviews.
Zero punctuation.
Zero punctuation
but
reviews,
he takes
and
the
they're
shit out
awesome.
of everything. He's the equal opportunity offender.
You should watch them. They're hilarious. So I also have a couple of quick comments from the boards about the Cliffy B fiasco, where Cliffy, notorious or whatever, infamously has said that Metal Gear Solid 4 is a passive experience and it's on the way out. And that's So anyway, a couple of people responded to that. Darkseed77 says that he's guess it depends on what passive means to some. For example, I think Gears is as passive as it gets because you walk into empty large rooms, explosions happen which seal the doors, a few bad guys show up and you take cover and go tit for tat with bad guys until someone dies, the doors unseal, and you walk into the next area and do it all over again. I don't think that's
what Cliffy was getting at.
Kind of special.
That's repetitive.
Tweeting in his case,
Right.
I would think that Cliffy's right insofar as you're not going to see other studios. It doesn't mean to say it's dated. It's just because other studios can't make the game and the movie that Kojima Productions did. They don't have the budget for it. They can't take the risk. They can't handle it. And so it's because Kojima Productions does it and they pull it off wonderfully, it's not like someone else is going to go and try it. It'll be.
Do you guys really think the story is that great in Metal Gear?
I do. I really.
Okay, hold on.
I like it
for what it is. Yeah, I don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
It's an entertaining anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like for Cliffy specifically, who really hyped up the story of Gears of War, and most people.
Oh my God, the story in Metal Gear Solid's 10 times better.
Even people
than
who
that
love
crap.
Gears of War don't really think Gears of War had like a really successful narrative.
They're doing a comic and a novel.
Yeah.
But Cliffy B could have also.
You want to hear some excerpts from the dialogue?
Yes.
You shouldn't die.
But Cliffy B could have also been talking about how the gameplay, like the stealth gameplay of MGS, is more passive than the active. I'm shooting you, I'm chainsawing.
Someone brought that up.
You know,
Someone
like,
brought that argument up in this
MGS,
thread.
you're trying to avoid combat.
I really think he was pointing out the cutscenes and the amount
Yeah.
of stuff that you listen to and stuff. And it's like, it's fine either way. It's like, I mean, would Gears of War have been helped if they quadrupled the length of the cinematics and they'd given you a bunch of other stuff? It's like they need to find other ways for the game the type of game they're making. They need to find other ways to convey information and to create characters and all this stuff. And it's like Kojima Productions did it its way. It's like it's different.
And for me, ultimately, Kojima and the company, they were kind of tasked with having to wrap up this crazy, convoluted, more insane than any game story you've ever played narrative, and they did it. And that's like you being given like, oh, all those X-Men comics, you need to make them all end right now. You need to give us a worthwhile
they did
ending.
it to the best of their ability, which is like they had basically a task that no one can do effectively. And that's like, if you took 20 years of X-Men comics and you said you have to make it's as though it were every little bit was planned. Someone actually did this. There's a series called Earth X done by Alex Ross, and it was like everything in the Marvel universe, all these different writers and artists.
That was all on purpose.
It was all leading to this one conclusion, and it's like it's fun.
Did he pull it off?
Well, he did insofar as it's fun, but if you really start looking at it, you're like, that's pretty fucking stupid. But it was entertaining, and I think that's how it works.
And that's kind of Metal Gear, and that's why.
But it's the difference between saying, oh my God, like when you watch Memento or Fight Club, and then you watch on a subsequent viewings, and it really holds up. You're like, this was clear that this was a puzzle constructed as one from the very beginning, as opposed to something that people had to puzzle out of a natural mess that they ended up in. Yeah.
And as I said, as a Metal Gear super fan, I get so much out of that closure, but I understand if you're not, then you might want to start skipping those.
But dude, look, I mean, I'm not going to shoot apart the story because look, I like Evangelion, so I can't say shit about the story.
You haven't seen and you haven't really seen.
Don't you wrinkle your nose up at me, Andrew Pfister.
I raised an eyebrow.
Dude, this is a good time to ask you though. I really wanted to know because earlier in a previous episode of One Up Yours, you'd come back from the event and you were saying that everything is wrapped up to our satisfaction, and we even brought up the arm bit. And you're like, even that. But so really though, I want to know, do you think that motherfucker hypnotizing himself?
Spoilers here.
Is a satisfying.
Spoilers here, but at the end, like I forget who says it, but they're basically like. He really isn't. Like the realization is he thinks he is and he's not. And like that explanation is kind of like it's kind of cheating, but I bought it. I was like, well, like just because he says I am Liquid Snake, he thought he was like he built himself up.
But like that was from some like Flowers in the Attic type shit, like those crazy like grocery store novelist.
But didn't
twist.
you? I found that a more convincing and believable.
Shut the hell up!
Like, would you have rather had it really be like magic, like his arm really?
Stop, Garnet, stop! I've had my fingers in my ears for like over a minute now.
But Garnet, for someone being so nonplussed with the whole thing, you're pretty.
I want to I at least want to have the enjoyment of the story.
Well, Garnet's big on payoff.
That's like the big thing.
But I agree with you. That's one of the most preposterous things that was ever introduced in Metal Gear.
It's just
that's how that was. I think he rationalized it so he didn't feel like he was gay all the years he jacked off with that arm. It was my own.
Spoilers.
It was my own. Sorry.
Wow, that's some serious self-flagellation right there.
Flashback sequence, by the way.
All right, so I think so Shane, you don't have the time to do this, but we'll sum this up because a poster named Rigby, I think, brings together something that, like, you would say if you had the time to do this much. He says, there's still people that want this kind of experience. I like it in games like Metal Gear Solid, where it's done very well, and I care about the characters and what happens to them. 3 million units shipped in less than a month for Metal Gear Solid 4 isn't a very good indication of passive entertainment going out. To me, that's a very fitting description of the game at all. I have played it through 8 times so far.
What?
I've got the big boss emblem, and I'm very involved in the gameplay, and it's put together really nicely. There are 8 hours of cutscenes.
Yeah, this guy's obviously got a shrine.
And there are a lot of games that have the same amount or more of cutscenes in them.
There's the difference is like that when you go to the numbers, it sold this many copies. Like again, the point is not that Kojima Productions can make a game that will sell this many copies using this form of storytelling, but no one else is going to, and no one else can.
Obviously, it really does connect with people. There obviously are a lot of people who really like it.
Blowing the shit up.
That's that's some serious vibration mode right there, Sean.
And, like, if I had my druthers, if I got to be the director of Metal Gear Solid 5, which would probably be Ryan Payton, not me, I would say it should have a lot less narrative, a lot fewer cutscenes. I think that now they've freed themselves of all this narrative baggage.
I wanted to ask
make it leaner.
You weren't here last week. How do you think they should take it, like story-wise?
I think it should be. I would like to see the story of how Raiden rescued Sonny. I'd like to play that. I would also like.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think they can bring in like Ensemble Studios and do like Metal Gear Wars?
No.
Wouldn't you rather start? What if Kojima and company could start fresh on something? Has no baggage.
That's what he wants to do.
You're losing the richness of the universe they've created, but you're also losing all that convolution.
I believe that is what Kojima will do.
Ryan Payton said it's going to be more Big Boss.
He's already in the backstory. Kojima's on the record saying that he's talking about the next Metal Gear.
All right, we ready to move on.
But he's not.
Almost.
He's also on the record saying what he really wants to do is make a whole new IP himself and pass Metal Gear onto his team.
I'd love to see some more Zone of the Enders too.
No more. I want something.
I want definitely
more
Zoe.
anime mechs though.
I actually like anime mechs.
I want Kojima to tackle something really crazy. I would like to see him do a game set in modern day reality, like for real. Like that's what I want.
I was joking about it in my EGM bio this month. I want to see Kojima's Civilization, where you're like sending out armies of Metal Gears across the map.
Whoa!
Like the reason I don't want
the PMCs all teamed up against
one. That'd be awesome.
That would be really awesome.
Like Zone, I didn't like that much because it was a really straightforward.
One or two.
Zone 2 is awesome.
I only played
Zone
1.
2 is the shit.
2 is vast.
Oh, so you didn't play 1? Nothing you say is worth anything. No, just shut up. But
I played 1. I agree. One didn't stitch.
What I like most that comes out of that studio is the cleverness and the ability to even look at this game. That they're actually doing something with their symbolism. That they're like doing something with players' experience. And it's like I would rather than just say let's just make another game that's fun and that's really like well put together where shit blows up. Let's do another game where all the trickery that he loves so much, where he's able to bring that in and do more stuff with that, but just without the.
I think if he attacked a different theme than military, he could go further with it too. Like remove all the barriers.
All right, so let's roll on. The only thing I would say is that I'm really eager to see what Turn 10 does next because I put Forza 2 back in this week.
I believe it's called Forza 3, and I think the entire press release leaked about 2 weeks ago.
Right. Well, I was being polite, but I'm really eager to see it and check it out because after having played a lot of Gran Turismo, putting Forza 2 back in, I was like, you know what? Actually, Forza 2, better driving model. And I know a lot of people are going to freak out on that now, but they both are very equal in momentum and all that kind of stuff. But there's something about the way the Turn 10 guys modeled the feel of actual tires and friction on the ground that really, really, really conveys a sense of driving. So I'm looking forward to that.
I forget the name of what I was playing this week for my own entertainment, but it's by the makers of Tribes on Instant Action.
Wow.
It's like Legend something. Hopefully someone Legion. Something with an L. But anyway, if you go to Instant Action, it's right on there, and it's the shooter. But it's like a proper multiplayer FPS, and it's free to play through your web browser. Whoa. And you can play it full screen if you want. And it uses the whole jetpack system and. So yeah, if you like Zone of the Enders, it's got some similarity to that.
Dude, Tribes was awesome too.
Like in addition to instead of just like boosting by holding spacebar or something, you press the right mouse and that like puts this anti-grav stuff on, so that you're able to slide across the environment. But then when you gain enough speed, and you often do it through a series of like sliding up a hill, boosting in the air, and then on your descent you'll pick up enough speed, and then when you hit 90 miles an hour, you can go into overdrive, and then you just really haul ass, but it takes away your health and stuff. But so as a big world, CTF with Quake-style rockets and railgun sniping and all this kind of thing. It's like a really good. It shows so much promise for the future of web games. I think people should check that out. I'm having fun with it.
After playing that? Do you buy into that argument that the entire future of PC gaming could be not even dependent on video cards or any of that shit, just through your browser?
It would be one type of future. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I think it'll get bigger and bigger. Well, I don't know. I should be careful because I think that the quality's there. There's room for a whole, like, massively, good games on it. But the thing is monetizing it. I don't know exactly how they're going to get people that, until it gets to the point where it shakes down, there's just this one hub everyone knows to go to, the equivalent of a Steam or something.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting for some years. But I'm really excited for Quake now that they're putting out.
Quake 3 Arena on browser.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great game, and it's going to be awesome to have a whole new audience for that game. So to have populated servers, but also that aren't entirely like just the best crack shots in the world of, tournament level Quake play.
And the beauty of it is like you can pop it in that shit at work easy peasy.
Minimize it.
Minimize that shit. Just pop right in, like, yes, I'm working on my spreadsheet right now. You can see how fast my data entry skills are. That's it?
So I've been busy doing a bunch of stuff. We were
cool.
hanging out at GameStops all week.
Yes, you should. No, so pimp that, dude, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
People should definitely listen to that.
So yeah, I mean that's cool. Yeah, thanks for letting me pimp it. Just because I mean, for the usual people that say GFW radio, I don't play many PC games. I don't play PC games just on Windows or whatever on GFW brand. It's like if you check the podcast out, this last week we went to GameStops in Emeryville, Berkeley, and El Cerrito in the Bay Area, and we posed as brand recognition specialists, and we had these sheets and told people that
The merchants of cool.
Yeah, we wanted to survey them on these games, and then the whole thing was that the games are the stupidest.
You did register that URL, didn't you?
No, I actually got
Dude,
that. That was like a pun
dude,
on
before
the
this show
PBS
goes up
special.
tomorrow, you should hit GoDaddy and check out Merchants of Cool. Like, you need to register that shit. That would be
PBS probably already owns it.
that would be a good $10 right there.
When I was teaching, I would show that video. It was a special on PBS, and I'd show it to students when we'd look at like deconstructing ads and stuff. And it was the whole time that focus groups came into being, and MTV started sending people into teenagers' bedrooms and asking, "Show me what's in your closet. Is this cool? What's cool?" So that they can repackage whatever
stalker
the cool
shit right
kids
there.
liked and sell it to the less than cool kids, so that they would adopt it, and then the cool kids would throw it in the trash and move on to something else, and then the merchants would come back and on and on. So it was a joke on that, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
Merchants of Cool. All right, that wraps up the first segment, folks. If you stick around when we come back in just a minute, we've got events, we got guitars, we got guns.
Guitars?
Yeah, well, dude, we're going to talk about some Guitar Hero. I got to let you guys rip on the Guitar Hero because I can talk about that now. And what else we got?
We got Ghostbusters.
We got Ghostbusters.
Killzone.
Go. We got Killzone. We got
Finally.
Killzone.
Let's not forget about it.
Guns and trigger points. Stick around. We'll be right back.
This One Up podcast is brought to you by Hail to the Chimp from Gamecock Media. Hail to the Chimp is a fast-paced party game about 10 animals fighting to become the next ruler of the animal kingdom. Packed with bare-knuckle brawling, lush interactive environments, and a talking woodchuck, it's the best selection you'll see this year. Available June 24th on PS3 and Xbox 360.
All right, we're back and ready to go from boards.oneup.com. Brought to you by Mike Lennox.
Famous poster.
Hello, Michael.
Hey, Mike, what's going on, dude?
It's your show now, Mike Lennox.
He knows his way around a bow staff.
It's all about you, baby.
He does.
Actually, Mike has a good thread here. It's called Challenge in Video Games. It's just getting started today, Thursday. So tomorrow, hopefully, at least more people posting it. It's do you enjoy it? Do you crave more of it? Do you truly want to be challenged? Is there ever a point when you simply want to worrylessly progress through the story as fast as you can, and as long as you know? Anyway, so basically, sorry, challenge, no challenge. What do you think?
Well,
where do you fall?
From the reviewer's perspective, we traditionally try to play on the normal difficulty level. Mm-hmm. If I see somebody playing like Silent Hill on very easy, I'm like, pussy.
All right, so I'll pull this out right here.
Is that all you do is call him a name?
That's it.
The Dread Potato, which, by the way, that's not a bad handle.
The other thing for Mike's the better your game, the more license you have to make it difficult. The shittier your game, the easier it's got to be.
Okay, I'll buy that. The Dread Potato agrees with you, Shane. Says, damn straight, I think it really dishonors the intricacies of a well-made game when you cheat or play on a ridiculously easy difficulty. Case in point, the God of War series, playing on the highest difficulty is nigh impossible, but ultimately a very rewarding experience if you manage to succeed.
I'm gonna admit something right here.
Pussy.
First time I played through Metal Gear Solid 4, I played on the one level below the American normal. So
That's just because it said naked and you thought you were going to get to see his penis.
That's
played
true.
Naked normal, not solid
Yes.
normal.
Because I wanted to get through the game and just kind of enjoy it, not have to worry that much, enjoy the story, and then I'm going to play on more difficult levels.
Well,
if I get a subsequent playthrough.
I'm playing on the hard one now, and it's fucking hard as shit. I recommend solid.
I have a friend who played through the hard on the first time through, and I just couldn't.
Perry Good and True says he's kind of on the fence. He's playing through Bite and Katos 2 right now, which serves a perfect example of how to roll. I haven't switched to easy, but it's comforting to know that it's there considering how often I'm getting ass kicked. So, maybe adjustability in there. Do you think that matters?
I'm a big fan of adjustable difficulty. It kind of came into vogue in the 16-bit era, and it never really went away.
Sean, where do you fall?
It depends on the type of game. I usually do normal setting, but if I've heard it's ridiculously hard, maybe I'll consider it easier. If I heard it's too easy, I'll try hard. I just don't know, and I just don't. What I really don't like though is when people try to say that someone else's version of their experience is less authentic or inauthentic altogether because they didn't play the way they did. And it's just games like are so subjective that way. Like if someone was saying he feels this enormous sense of accomplishment after beating game X on hard, it's like others of us feel none whatsoever. And it's like I'm not going to tell you that you're an idiot for feeling like you accomplished something by beating the game on hard, but just leave Phil or whoever else the fuck alone when they say they play like on naked mode or something.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And like we're playing Shadow of the Colossus for 1UP FM right now, and we have the forum post for people to talk about that and play along with us. And one of the first posts I saw on there was somebody saying, "All right, beat it on normal as quickly as possible and start on hard because that's the way it's meant to be played." And like I just don't know
what that always means. The way it's meant to be played is people want you to have the exact same experience they had. Not only, and they think that if you replicate every move and everything they did, you'll appreciate it in the exact same degree that they do. But that's just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, some games there are difficulties that are meant to be played, and you can't actually beat it on easy. A lot of shooters are like that, old school shooters. But I'd say last generation there were some new twists to difficulty that interested me. Like when Devil May Cry started adding the thing where if you die a bunch, it'll suggest going to a lower difficulty. You can switch right there.
God of War did that too.
God of War did
that's actually pretty smart.
And I actually did switch on God of War 2. Halfway through my playthrough, I got to a boss I couldn't beat, and I died like 50 times, and there was like switch, and I'm like, yes, God, yes.
Silent Hill has allowed variability in the difficulty of puzzles. Similarly, BioShock lets you turn on, flashing items or unflashing arrows, and so eventually, I like that idea. It's like almost like IL2 Sturmovik, where there's like 3 separate screens with like 60 different variables for difficulty, and it'll get more to the point where like you really create your own experience based on what you want.
It's like adjusting sliders in a sports game.
Yeah,
like more interceptions, fewer fumbles.
So this is something that is changing a lot now. You're talking about football, so I'll bring that one up in just a second. But like one of the things that Sin had right, the new episodic version, despite the fact that it didn't get continued.
Why do you still love that game?
What? Which one?
You still love Sin episode?
No, it was not good. It was okay.
I remember.
It was okay, but
you spooge all over that shit.
Didn't you give it like a 6?
Yeah, I think
something like that.
I didn't give it a great score, dude. It was all right. I liked the idea of Sin coming back.
But what
was cool was they had this really, really intense system under the hood that was monitoring how you played the game the entire time. Like how many headshots you got, how accurate you were, how fast you were moving through the environment, how much cover you were taking, when you were taking cover, how you were facing. Anyways, taking all these variables into account and balancing the game in every regard, like how much health drops you got, how much ammo drops you got, how high the AI was turned up, how much armor the AI was wearing, whether the AI was wearing helmets to protect against headshots. All of that stuff was factored into the game, so it was dynamically adjusting to give you the play experience they want. And I think that was really cool.
Did you ever read that article in Wired, I think by Clive Thompson, about the making of Halo 3? And how they basically did that, but only like in the pre-planning stages, where they just like really fine-tuned everything and monitored everything that the focus testing.
No, but I want to go back and read it now.
It's a fantastic article, but it's not like dynamic on the fly. It's just they did it ahead of time.
I think there's big things in the future for that dynamic approach. I mean, Will Wright's really big on it, and he's constantly praising. I mean, the idea of making a game that's able to reconfigure itself for each individual user. I mean, that's when...
I'm going to talk some about Madden in a minute, but one of the things that I think is really cool about Madden this year is when you start up the game, John Madden asks you right off the bat if you want to take some tests, and it gives you 4 tests. It gives you a running drill and a passing drill, a running defense and a passing defense drill, and this thing is super segmented, and as you play through the drills, it's testing you to see how well you play the game, and it will give you a dynamically balanced game to how well you play. And the second part of this is that if you play against other people who have the game and have played to their play balance level, we can match up. So if I want to play against, Philip, who is maybe better than me or worse than me or maybe a better passer but not as good a run defender or whatever, we can actually have a game where the game factors those things into the equation. We're able to play a good game against each other. I think that's really cool. Kiersey says that I think challenge is good. Without it, you're not really accomplishing much of anything. Of course, these are just video games, so not like we're really accomplishing anything anyway. But breaking down the most basic level, video games are challenges. Maybe you're winning a race. Maybe you're beating a boss. All those sorts of things. You don't get any satisfaction to achievement if you're not actually facing the challenge. And then follows it up at the end and says, I think this is part of the reason why QTEs get so much flack these days is that you're just pressing a single button, and on screen, Jason Bourne is unleashing a super combo of doom. Good for him. But all I did was push a button. It's hard to feel good about that because I solved what could have been a more complex problem with just a simple button press of an X. I agree with that. And
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, that's like a whole mishmash of different, attitudes and stuff.
Tackle it.
Well, a lot of designers are doing things like, like Epic and Gears of War and God of War and stuff where they say, and, how do we make people feel empowered with the minimum amount of input? You just do something small and it's like a representation of the ultimate badass, and that seems to be just as effective for people. And other times, like I was saying, people don't play the game for a sense of accomplishment, but one of entertainment and other types of reward and stuff. I forget. I mean, he had so many different points, but the whole step of the way, I was like, there's like 10 other ways of looking at each one of these things.
Well, you brought up an important part there for me, which is that I play games for entertainment. So insofar as the challenge keeps the game entertaining to me, I'm happy with that. But when I start to feel like it's just fucking with me to make me face a harder challenge, to make the game seem like I'm getting more out of it, then I'm not into it anymore.
Right.
The other thread that I pulled, which I really loved, and this is probably because of the game store experience, and Shane, I'm hoping you'll dig on this too, is Sir Oros asks that, do you help strangers in game stores? This comes up because he tells his story. He says, I'm now against it because I offered some polite advice to a guy in Walmart, and he and a store employee talked to me pretty rudely. I didn't interrupt a conversation. I wasn't condescending. I was just pointing out that the 360 arcade bundle didn't have a hard drive and that the memory cards can fill up pretty quickly. Was I being rude for advising a stranger? Is that how it works now?
I've heard a similar story. Someone was trying to talk them out of an arcade and into an Elite, and they got kicked out of the store. Famously, like, we don't need you here.
Kicked out of the store.
Yeah.
But it's one thing if someone asks you and it's unsolicited, but it's another to be an unpaid employee at the store.
Unsolicited. Imagine you're at the counter and you hear tisk tisk.
I wouldn't do that.
Oh, so hold on. I gotta find someone who's actually relating the story. Like, he was in a GameStop. He's like, no, unless someone asks me, why would I give a shit about what they're purchasing? One day at a GameStop, some kid with nothing to do in life other than to hang out at a video game store was standing at the register giving his 2 cents on what people were purchasing. That annoyed the shit out of me, and I blew him off.
Yeah.
I think
that's Ultraman J.
I get games like if I'm renting like porno or something, like back in the day when you have to go rent porno. It's like I don't care what you think about the movie I'm getting, man. Like, that's between me and the movie. Like, I don't care about the experience you had with the movie.
I think I have. I think probably all of us have probably offered some confused mom a little advice at Christmas at Toys R Us, but in general.
But only when the confused mom asks me, what do you think about this?
Exactly. She looks like exasperated, like, what do I get?
Yeah.
But,
Well, you know what? That worked out pretty well for Double Vision. Double Vision says some little kid was about to buy Enemy Territories Quake Wars now on the PS3 for $60, and I let him know that it really doesn't work that well on consoles, and nobody really plays it online on that platform. I recommended he buy Warhawk instead for half the price if he wanted a similar game. His mom thanked me and then asked me if I could come to their house and set up their PS3 online. Easy $20 made.
I think mom was looking for something else.
Dude, if he only got $20, I'm thinking.
But
that's probably on some good MILF site now, right?
But when you and I were behind the counter at EB, I had a lot of advice for people. Like, people would bring up games, and I would refuse to sell them to them. I remember the day that
Dude, you're the worst kind of.
I was the worst. The day that Tenchu Stealth Assassins. Tenchu Stealth Assassins came out the same day as IDOS's Ninja. And like everyone's like, I want Ninja. I'm like, no, you don't.
Would you have let me buy Operation Darkness?
No, you would not. I would not have let you buy Operation Darkness. I would have been like, save your money, brat.
Like, get out of here, kid.
That's
care.
annoying, man.
If he had trade-ins, would you let him buy it?
The shittiest kind of comic book store clerk,
Go to Software Etc. They'll sell you that crap.
Yeah. There's a character view in like Mallrats or one of those movies.
or several of them. Dano9181 says, I try to help people from time to time, but getting people to listen is difficult. A lot of people are clueless when buying electronics these days. It just baffles me since I work at Walmart in the electronics department. I try to sell games and consoles to the type of gamer getting the item. Like when a mom comes in looking for games for her kids, I try to push the 3-packs like Need for Speed. But most of the time, the parent just wants to buy one game, and I usually ask them how much time they devote to gaming and then give them a good game the kid will like. But then they turn around and buy Haze, or I recommend GTA 4 and Metal Gear when I recommend Metal Gear Solid and COD 4. It's really sad that people don't look at review scores. They just buy in the marketing.
Some people like when we were talking to people about games, the shit that Joe Blow likes, and a lot of people that don't read magazines, don't go online, it's different than what you'd expect. Like, that game Duty Calls, which we described as being innovative insofar as, unlike Call of Duty, it had a multiplayer mode. And it was called Capture the Flag. And like the kid, people thought it was the greatest thing, Like, I mean, they would seriously say on a scale of like 1 to 20 how enthusiastically they'd pay full retail price, and it'd be like 18, So
nice.
I think the people that buy Haze from that kid at Walmart are probably like going home happy.
Is there a collector's edition of Duty Calls coming out?
Yeah, that's right.
And how much would you spend for that?
That's part of the thing.
$129.
What does it come with, man? What do you want?
$129, I think.
It's hand autographed by R. Kelly.
Duty Calls. I think he's into.
What does R. Kelly have to do with it?
Yeah, he pissed on it. Didn't shit on her.
Oh, dude.
Actually, he was he was completely exonerated. He didn't do any of that shit. If the mole don't fit, gotta quit.
If the what? Doesn't fit?
Got the mole removed from his back, so it wasn't him in that video. Real talk.
We got to come up with some.
Should I take
better.
over hosting?
Dude, it's real talk.
If the deuce wasn't it,
Must
didn't
quit.
shit.
Real talk.
R. Kelly didn't shit.
Real talk.
Folks, this is what you missed when I was out, isn't it? It's like,
All right, so that's enough.
See?
That's enough community, Garnet.
We're
They
there.
did figure it out though, because remember, was it like Chappelle who figured out that was like his Soul Train award on the nightstand in that video?
Soul Train.
That was all. That was. If I was on the jury, I would have fucking made my mind up at that point.
All right, there you go. So boards.oneup.com. Hell yeah, we're reading that shit, Mike. So don't be dissing us.
It's yours.
It's yours right there, baby.
It's MikeLinnick.com.
It's MikeLinnick.com. Yeah, there you go. Get your piece of the internet.
So last week, Garnet and I were in LA. He's a real E3 judge. I was a proxy judge in a proxy war.
Dude, you still got the bag of booze at 9 o'clock in the morning?
That I did. It didn't make those mobile games that much better, surprisingly.
Shockingly.
So we played a lot of games, and we can't talk about most of them, but I will say there were some...
I love how you managed to still work in the patented Shane. We played a lot of games, but we can't talk about them.
Well, we
right
can talk
now.
about some of them, but I will
All right.
say there were some come from nowhere success stories and some high-profile disappointments.
All right. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's look back.
Because we got all kinds of stuff to go back. I still have Activision stuff to go
Is there
back and
anything,
catch up
yeah,
on.
so we should start with the beginning with you with Activision and THQ and those.
All right, so like 2 weeks ago, I went down to Activision. We went to Treyarch, and at Treyarch we got to check out 2 games. One of which the embargo is not even up till next Wednesday, but it might have a certain action hero in it, which was pretty good. But then the other one was Call of Duty, which you got to see Call of Duty yesterday at this Games for Windows thing.
Yeah.
So
Call of Duty World at War? What's it called?
World at War,
World
which
at
is
War.
really funny. Like they're going out of their way to prove the rumor about Infinity Ward not letting anybody like number a game anymore. Like
Right.
you notice, like there's no 5 anywhere. It's not 5, dude. It's not fucking 5.
That's an industry trend to get,
It's not
to
5.
get away from numerals.
Or an industry trend to let Infinity Ward have the numbered Call of Duties and own the franchise.
That only makes sense too.
Of course, it makes sense.
I mean, it was part of the whole thing with why they got away from EA in the first place. I mean, when they used to be working on Medal of Honor games, and then it's like that franchise got diluted, and among other issues, they left and made their own, and it's like. Probably not so that there's a billion versions of it,
Well, so everyone's expecting this game to suck, like Call of Duty 3, right?
Okay, it's not going to suck. It's not going to suck like Call of Duty 3. Very simple reason is like Treyarch is now the house of the Call of Duty 4 engine. They have 3 teams, okay? One team is working on this World at War game. One team's working on that other action game. Then there's a smaller team that is simply a Call of Duty 4 engine team, and they build tools. All they do is build development tools to work on that engine.
COD3 I didn't even think COD3 sucked, but COD3 wasn't mediocre because of engine troubles.
The engine troubles didn't help it any, dude, because it still
was
had
really
legacy
the design
support.
of it, though. I mean,
Well, yeah, there was that.
But they have a full 2 years to work on this game.
They have full 2 years to work on
unlike
this.
COD 3.
They're in a well-developed engine. They've been working on the tools. They're supposedly, they've got their level designed where they can like tear down a level in a couple of days and rebuild it however they want to based on play testing. So,
All right, so were you impressed? Were you satisfied?
That's an awkward pause.
it looked like everything you'd expect from a Call of Duty game in the Pacific if you look at Call of Duty 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And United Offensive, meaning like pretty linear. And this has been a problem. I mean, I played quite a few Pacific Front games, even beyond.
really,
the
because I haven't
recent
seen
history.
that many Pacific
Well,
Front games.
there's the History Channel one that just came out, but better
Ugh.
versions. The PC, the Medal of Honor, they had Rising Sun on the console.
That
which
was not
okay.
very good.
Was not
the
very
PC
good. Not
very
version had another name. I forget what
Was
it
it
was.
Pacific
It was
Assault?
probably just Pacific Assault, and that was a better game. And it was funny the deja vu I had, having played and reviewed that game, looking at this one, and. It just seemed really similar, but the problem they get into is like unlike a game like with like a Crisis or Far Cry, where you're like, okay, there's jungle and there's a whole lot you can do. It changes the way that you have warfare in the jungle. There's rivers and green hallways you go down that have floral jungle wallpaper on either side. And while it was really
Purple haze,
high res assets and stuff, you could still see. You could made it really easy to see that you were just going through the pass and enemies keep popping out. You shoot a bunch of them.
It didn't feel like you were really in a jungle, really. No.
It didn't. I don't know. I mean, just from what little I saw, it was like it just seemed very familiar. And I know there's no way people are going to react as favorably to this as they did to COD4.
Well, they have because they have a really hard road to face ahead just by virtue of the expectations after modern warfare, the fact that you're going back to World War II, and to me, the big downer, the big downer for me was when they said, "Oh, Pacific Theater is only half of it. We're gonna let you be the Russians and go back to Germany." I'm like, "Oh, fuck's sakes, really?
What? Really?
Yeah." I'm like, "Why?" Well, because we have this high concept. We're going to tell the story of the end of the war.
Well, this is what they've always done, right? CODs 1 and 2, they were in every major theater except the Pacific. That was the one place, but they were always in North Africa. They had a Russian campaign. And the Russian campaigns have traditionally been pretty cool. I mean, they've been fun there. This Stalingrad level, they were like clearly based on like enemy at the gates, the crossing the Volga Sea.
Yeah, we didn't get to see much of that. I mean, like I guess that's going to be the Russians trying to get to Berlin before the Allies, because at that point Stalin's like, nervous. He's going to be double-crossed.
Which they've already done in COD games. I mean, they've had, basically taking the Reichstag as levels in previous games.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that we're going to do that again, right? And that just doesn't.
So,
I mean,
What about the rumors, or I guess it was in some article when the announcement came, but that it's going to be more sort of like survival horror?
Oh yeah, the brutality of slitting throats.
Well, so no to survival horror, obviously, but there's definitely. I mean,
what?
I don't know where the survival horror came from.
No zombies confirmed.
But I mean, you don't have to look very far. I mean, if you do any sort of historic research into World War II, the Pacific Theater was a whole other sort of fighting that the American troops, like no war had ever had that sort of brutality before. The Japanese employed sort of guerrilla tactics. They had one of the things that
I'm going to beg to differ and say that the Eastern Front was even uglier, if not as ugly.
Eastern Front was really ugly in a couple of ways. It was that the Russians were backed up and they were fighting for their home, right?
It was ugly in that it was a fucking invading army saying that your goal is to exterminate.
It was cold. It was miserable.
And anyone that lives, you enslave them. And it meant that there was nothing to do but to fight to the death. I mean, But
the Germans didn't fight to the death. The Germans surrendered. The Germans would surrender.
The whole course of the war, but a good fucking many million of them fought to the death.
A good many of them fought to the death, but the Germans would surrender. And the thing about the Japanese was they would not surrender. They would hold each square foot of property to the death because it filled into the code.
Right. It depends. I mean, I don't want to get into the history nerd thing because it's it depends on the battle. Where there were times when Hitler would say, yes, Stalingrad, obviously, there's no retreat, but I mean, I just don't want to buy into any kind of marketing thing either, where they're like, "This is a new brutal war." It's like World War II is fucked up. Period.
I didn't buy into the brutal war. I actually I went and read backgrounders from first I went to Wikipedia, but then from there I went to some History Channel shit about the war, about the battles that the guys are doing over the Pacific, and I forget the name of the islands, but one of the islands was the island where the 1st Marine Regiment was so completely wiped out that they were out of the entire Pacific Theater for 10 months while they were trying to rebuild the regiment because they had taken such heavy and dire losses.
Yeah, there were extraordinary losses in Guadalcanal and many of the islands, and then on the Japanese side,
Paluia. Anyway, that was the assault. It was a terrible assault, horrible losses, very violent. And the big thing about the war in the Pacific was the introduction of flamethrower squads. I mean, they were really big on the flamethrower squads because the Japanese would root themselves into these islands and they would flame everything. So you asked me about being excited. They show these great flame effects. You got these cool flamethrower guys. There's all this incredible action going on. Except, and remember Alone in the Dark? How they have that flame system that the fire grows.
Oh yes, I remember that.
Does it not work? Does it not work well?
Oh, it works. It's just fire is the solution for everything in that game.
Oh, that's stupid.
Flamethrower could be cool in multiplayer too. United Offensive had it, and it was with this awesome mode they had where you were basically supposed to destroy these 3 bases. If you're defending one, you could put down a fire line because the fire would persist and continue to burn there, and so people just couldn't come through it. They'd have to throw grenades through it, and it made for some really cool.
So they're demoing the game, and he's lighting the brush on fire because there's Japanese soldiers hunkered down in the brush and camouflage, burning them, and they come running out and everything. And then he goes over to this hut and he flames the hut and burns the guys out of the hut. And the flames don't catch the hut on fire, even though it's a wood hut with thatched roof. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Right. Well, I mean, the COD engine's not made for that kind of thing, right? I mean,
I don't know. They've done a lot of mods to it.
Yeah. If they have an entire sub-team dedicated to tools, maybe
I'm like, why have they not? I'm like, are you guys going to have the huts catch on fire or whatever? And they're like, well, we haven't really decided right now. It's a design decision, and we're not sure we want the huts
Is it
to burn.
we're talking? That's the one thing I haven't seen there, the flame. Is it? We're talking a proper flamethrower where it really throws it out at a great distance?
Oh, yeah.
Those could be flame retarded.
It's not the pyro flamethrower on TF2, where
it's
you could cook someone that stands in front of you.
No, they demoed split screen multiplayer, and it was really cool. You could see your buddy like way across the battlefield, like 100, 150 yards away, like shooting a jet of flame out like 7,500 yards to burn guys out of bunkers. It was pretty intense.
I'm curious. Did they show you the Wii version, which is apparently the exact same game?
No.
That's ambitious.
No, they didn't. Although
it's pretty scalable though, that engine. I mean, you just reduce the textures.
I have no idea. They did say that they have a dedicated studio that's not them working on doing that, which to me says that if they get that working, then they're going to do Modern Warfare on Wii too, right? I mean, if you get the engine working, you got to go back and do Modern Warfare for Wii.
Were you able to ask them if they're done with their spawn loops yet?
So they had an interesting story about, like you're talking about, where their spawning locations.
Not even the locations, but infinite spawning that's stopped by your forward movement.
The one thing about Call of Duty 4 that really sucked, basically.
And 3, and it was crazy. It drove me nuts because I was talking to Finney Ward about Treyarch's game, and I was like, what did you guys think, like that they had infinite spawning that's based on moving forward? Because, of course, the natural reaction in the presence of a ton of enemies is to take cover and fight. Mm-hmm. But they're never going to stop if you take cover. You're supposed to run right at them so that you shut off their brown people reproduction plant, depending on the game in COD4. But so, yeah, that would be one thing I would ask them is, like, are these guys going to just keep popping out of this hole, the emergence hole in the jungle until I...
you're talking about when you're playing... You're not talking about multiplayer. You're talking about single player.
Yeah. Single player spawn.
No, we did not get into the specifics of spawning.
Did you see it, though?
Single player?
Did you see that happen?
I know Garnet hates it.
No, the demo was very guided. So I mean that was one of my complaints. The demo was very guided, and it felt very much like the first slices we saw of Modern Warfare. I mean, down to the fact that there was even like guy being pushed in a struggle out of a hut where you're like, oh, if I shoot the Japanese guy, I save the guy who's on my team. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the stairwell in the first level of Modern Warfare. I'm like, come on, I've seen this stuff before. That part was very guided.
There's a little bit of that. I've seen this before in some of the games we saw last week. But, yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, we're gonna do some more Call of Duty. Like we can talk about multiplayer. They shut off multiplayer, which was weird because you still get the rewards, and one of the first reward is still a reconnaissance plane. I mean, I know there were some reconnaissance planes in World War II, but I don't think you like punched a button and had a recon. Hold on, I need a recon plane. Joe, send me the recon plane. That was a little weird.
So, did you get the feeling that this game is going to be coming out this year?
I would say, I don't know.
Really?
I don't know.
It'll be out this year.
Really?
Activision, that's the whole thing with them. They show Call of Duty. It means this shit's coming out like in a couple months.
I think that. So we went to Treyarch, and I got to tell you this. Like, I really like the people at Treyarch are really cool. They have a lot of really, really hardcore guys who are into making the game. They're already on assholes and elbows mode. Like while we were there, every meal was being brought in catered for both teams. They're busting their asses already. They're that hardcore, and knowing that their other game has to come out day and date with a movie release.
The other game has been shown, and I think the idea that they're going to ship 2 first-person shooters at the same time is
not going to happen.
What's their other game?
Shane, I agree with you.
So we'll see.
I don't think they can.
You can't.
Well, I mean, there's a screenshot came out of that game.
Has it?
In Europe or something.
All right. So anyway, it's coming out with a major movie release in November, and the game will be out. Obviously, it has to come out at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We'll be talking more Call of Duty on 1UP FM this week, so tune in Monday.
Yeah,
I think there for the kids show.
Yep.
I think what'll happen because think about it, dude. Shared resources, right? They're working on the same engine. If they get down to crunch time in October, they're gonna pull people over to finish the game that has to come out with the movie.
Well, last year they didn't show COD4 until like around this time this year.
That's
for
true.
The first time.
It's true, and it made it out.
They know the one thing is they know how to make Call of Duty games, both Treyarch and Infinity Ward. And if you're not, because I mean, when you look at this, it's not like, oh, this is the big next evolutionary step for COD. It looks like this is a COD game.
But Call of Duty,
I imagine they can produce.
Call of Duty's become a much bigger brand since COD4, and I think Activision should be more careful about what they put out into that name.
Well, as the previews that have been out there have shown, I mean, I was up in Seattle 2 months ago to play Project Origin, and I got to tell you, as far as shooters go, man, I enjoyed Project Origin way more. Way more.
Monolith really knows how to get. I mean, like I keep wanting to see them merge that and Condemned, the variety of it. But whenever just the physicality of fighting, whether it's with guns or fists, they nail it.
Yeah. PO.
Hopefully they get a story that makes sense too. Because I mean, shit, making fun of Metal Gear story, the Fear story was about as bullshit as you can come up with.
Craig Hubbard was really upfront about that. He's like, we thought we had. He said that we thought we had in Fear the ideal way of telling a game through this nameless face who was going to be who you would become, and you'd really get sucked into the world so much that you would understand what was going on around you. And he's like, and it totally missed. And
did you notice how like Metal Gear the story was too? There's a clone army.
Yeah.
And I mean,
all right. It's
I don't know what else to take it beyond that, but there's clones. That means they're the same shit in my mind. I
don't know. I was really impressed with PO when I was up there. Like they did a lot of really cool stuff. The outdoor levels show a tremendous amount of potential. I was happy.
You also
PO.
played Guitar Hero on tour.
We didn't get to play it.
World Tour.
They demoed it for us. They took us to. Yeah, they took it.
That's the DS one?
No. The next,
the band one.
I've lost track of the world of Fisher-Price instruments.
So they took us to House of Blues and had it all set up, and they did a very long demo where they showed off tons and tons and tons of Guitar Hero. And I don't know. I mean, I've always been a big defender of Guitar Hero, but I think they kind of got themselves almost too they're really going for the niche market. So the new guitar has like the 5 fret buttons, right? And then right underneath that, it has this touchpad that is in 5 fret segments to correspond to the 5 colored buttons on the frets, right?
It's their response to the Rock Band guitar, basically, right?
How so?
The solo buttons at the bottom.
No, they're not solo buttons. The idea behind this is like, remember how everyone had seen the ghosted notes in the game, and they were like, "What the fuck is with the ghosted notes? Oh, those will be with the pedal." It's not a pedal. The ghosted notes, you slip off, so you slide your hand off of the fret buttons and down to the slider, and it's like you're playing steel guitar.
Okay.
So you're like sliding your finger up and down the slide, up and down the touch sensor to catch the notes as they drop through like imagine those being buckets. So you like slide your finger.
What I meant is that's their one-upping the
Rock
Band.
Yeah, okay. So, but here's where it gets crazy: is that not only can you use the touch sensor that way, but wait, there's more. You can use the touch sensor also to bend a note that's a sustain. So
I think that's cool.
So you hit a note, and you can use it to bend it, like you're bending a note. Tremolo bar actually just wavers, right? But if you play guitar, that'll let you bend. And if you want to, you can also use the touch bar in lieu of the strum bar and tap it like Eddie Van Halen to do solos. So you can, it's three tricks in one.
So you can do like Eric Clapton, "Wonderful Tonight."
Yeah.
I think hardcore fans are gonna like all this. It's
I think
more customizable.
It's more customizable, but dude, it's like the most fun with Rock Band, which this is now a Rock Band competitor because they're bringing in all the instruments, is when you get together with your friends who aren't hardcore gamers, and you just sit down and get the group together. You got someone singing, you got someone playing guitar, someone playing drums, just jamming, right?
So can it do both?
I don't know. This thing is it looks so complex. I was watching the dude who's works for Neversoft playing the guitar, and he's all like, I wish you guys had videos. Like he's playing the guitar up here, and then he's sliding his hand down here to the slide bar, and then he's ripping his hand off here, and he's bending notes, and he's doing solos, and I'm like, okay, now it's starting to look like one of those 2:00 in the morning TV made for ads, or
Is all that extra stuff necessary, or is that optional? If it's optional, then that's not a big problem.
It is optional. But aren't you going to want to do it? I mean, aren't you going to feel cheated if you can't do it?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're, like you say, if you're just bringing your friends in who aren't hardcore gamers and they can't do it, then it doesn't matter if it's optional. If it's not going to make you fail the song.
You can still play Guitar Hero.
Yeah. You can still play Guitar Hero. But I think that people might feel like I don't know. It just seems that part seems really nerdcore.
That's cool. One of these days they're gonna release a guitar and it's got fucking 6 strings on it.
I just think the bigger
couple of pickups, couple of humbuckers.
I think the bigger threat is who really needs more than one set of plastic instruments in their life? Who wants to spend $200 every year on a game?
Hey, dude, I'm sorry.
I'm amazed that
Red Octane continues to produce the better instruments.
Did they show any of the music creation stuff?
They showed a ton of that. So before we get to that, first of all, everything from here out, according to the guys in Guitar Hero, will be all master tracks. So they're completely master track. They're going to ship with 80-something songs in master tracks.
Good policy.
Now they claim that the reason they can't have backwards compatibility on their prior DLC is because they developed.
They now are saying that Guitar Hero 3 DLC will be compatible with this.
Oh, are they?
As of this week, that's what I read.
Well, good for them. Because the story they told us,
I could have sworn I read that. Maybe I was dreaming. It's possible.
What they told us was that when they that the SDK for the software development kit for developing the game had changed so much from when they first started working on 360 that there was a fundamental difference inside the development kit, and they couldn't make that compatibility work.
Oh well. I
don't know whether that's true.
That would suck.
That would suck. But they said that going forward that that Microsoft's worked that out, and they said hey, Rock Band obviously has helped push this forward, but we're going to be able to use that same development kit. We'll never not have DLC you can carry forward from here on out. So that's cool. The drum set is amazing. The drum set is amazing.
Right.
It looks really, really cool. It's really, really solidly built. They have it laid out now instead of my first drum kit. They have it laid out like a drum set to where when you're playing ride or hi hat and snare, you're actually playing ride or hi hat and snare with your hands in the right positions. So that part really, really cool.
Like, could you talk about the music editing a little bit? Like, what can you do?
Anything. It is.
But like, how's the interface? What is it like?
You upload a song of your choice, and then you basically write the game track for it.
So how much you want to take of the music editor is entirely up to you. The music editor starts at like a very basic level where you have like a I guess like you could get MIDI programs on Apple or whatever that do this, where there's drum loops, there's bass loops, there's rhythm loops, there's lead loops, and then you can just go in and mix the loops. You can assign the loops to different keys.
It's like Fruity Loops.
Have you ever seen? You ever seen that like Milky has? Have you ever seen that video Milky passed around of that dude with that like Korg box where he had like it's like a box and he had like push buttons on the top of the box and like live mix different loops together?
Yeah.
You can use the guitar in Guitar Hero to do that.
That's
and
cool.
like performance art your own
That's
music.
actually like feeding back on what the fans did with the first Guitar Hero, because there were MIDI mods for the very first Guitar Hero guitar.
Oh, really?
That would do that.
Well, so that's what this is, and it was like cool. Like the dude who was demoing it was like doing basically a live drum and bass show with the guitar, like mixing everything between the fret. He had the fret bar going, he had the touch screen going, and he had the whammy bar and the strum bar going.
That's the most exciting thing I've heard about this game.
And it was nuts. It was nuts. He was like doing this incredibly cool, like just jam house music sort of D&B mix where he's like da 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 da. And he had started off, and you can go in and layer as many tracks as you want. It's got like a full, like if you want to burrow down inside of there, it actually has like a full MIDI sequencer where you can like program individual notes and chords into the fret buttons.
Did they show off like the variety of the instruments and
yeah, it was. Yes, they did, and it was stupid. There was like tons. Then so since you can't do singing.
Yeah.
They have a number of lead instruments, and the lead instruments can be programmed to the melody. So you could pick a lead instrument that sounded roughly like a voice, and then put that in as the lead voice, and then that would become like you could sing to that.
Oh,
Garnet,
okay.
you were worried about people handling the touch screen. Like now you're talking about them like juggling beats on a plastic guitar.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that seems like it's going to be pretty difficult.
This is like way off in the like super niche. There will be like 5,000 people in the entire world who are into this, but there will be like a cottage industry of people who do like performance art with the.
It's basically a map making tool. Like that's the equivalent for an FPS.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah. So like you can do drum loops and bass loops and then do your own solos over the top, or you can actually sequence your own thing. Like lay a track down, go back, lay your other track down on top of that, go back, lay your other track down on top of that.
I'm really excited about this.
The thing that's really interesting to me too is that they're making it so that you can upload your tracks, let people download them through some sort of like YouTube-like service, right?
Yep.
Did they say anything about like, are they concerned at all about copyright issues? I mean, people are obviously going to be making songs.
Yeah.
No, they're not, because of this very simple thing. They are providing the tool, and they will say up in front that, you're creating music, and if you're creating music that might be copyright protected, that you're assuming the risks and litigation openings that might be associated.
But you're
with
not
that.
making any money off of it, though. So
Right.
the risk, you have no risk, really.
Exactly.
So what about this though? I mean, can you take in files that exist? You could take a Beatles song and then just basically write.
You
like
can't
the
pull a file in. No,
buttons.
you'd have to know the tab. You'd have to know the music.
Okay, so you can't take existing material and just make your own.
No, you'd have to basically sequence it into.
That's how they're going to keep you. Because I was going to say, if you could take stuff in, you get some whizzes at programming like good tracks for them, and they would be irrelevant because everyone would just be swapping for free, like the whole Beatles discography and stuff with like really good game tablature. However,
It's not going to take that long for that to be there anyway, though.
Yeah. Rock
If
Band
you look
track pack downloadable week 1.
when there's issues about those two companies like making it so you can't use their guitars with each other's games and all that stuff, I would say they're going to do everything they can to stop that. I mean,
Guitar Hero guys seem to be very much encouraging this. I mean, to them the difference is very clear. It's that if you want to make that song that sounds like that song to play it, you can do that in the game, and they've given you that creator.
Yeah,
but if you want the master track, they're going to sell you the master track.
I don't know. The music industry is pretty tenacious about defending that stuff. They even went after online guitar tab sites and shut bunches of them down.
Well,
yeah.
We'll see how big it gets.
Like they're very protective, like as representations.
I'm sure that there will be some sort of lawsuits involving this inevitably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be interesting to see how all that resolves. Anyway,
So was that it? Everything?
the music creation thing is really, really fucking cool.
I'm really excited about that part of it.
I mean, and so the drums are wireless, the guitar is wireless, the microphone is not. The microphone is basically a wired I think they said it's like Logitech or something. I don't know.
I bet a lot of people listening right now are asking in their heads what songs are on the track list. Can you say?
The first songs they played by the way, they played Rebel Yell, which was by far and away the standout song. I mean, when they did Rebel Yell, it was awesome. What else was there? There was
Smash Mouth,
Santeria by Sublime, and Everlong from the Foo Fighters.
That's one of my favorites.
Everlong?
Yeah.
Everlong's a great song.
Everlong was good. Everlong was good, but I got to tell you, dude, Rebel Yell by Billy Idol's Rebel Yell was the song.
I've heard that song before, but I've never heard it until I played it on the guitar.
But you can't sing it. I've sang Rebel Yell at karaoke before, and I'm going to be a little disappointed that I can't sing it in Guitar
Why?
Hero. Because there's no singing in Guitar Hero,
No one's
right?
going to stop you. You could plug in.
No, you can
there's
sing.
singing.
No, dude, there's definitely singing.
Really?
There's just not singing for the recording.
For the recording part. Like,
Oh.
The song. Like the one part that like scares me for them, and I actually told them that they need to go redefine their redo their interface. Is that the game looks like Rock Band? I mean, like
really?
Unabashedly looks like Rock Band. Like you start off and like at the selection screen, there's 4 vertical columns where you choose your different characters, and it's the exact same. Like choose your character, then the little character pops up, and you like pick your difficulty.
What's this game's subtitle again?
World Tour.
Oh yeah, that's the single player mode in Rock Band.
Indeed.
All right, so that was the only Activision games you saw, right?
Yeah, that's all the Activision thing. We can talk about the other one next week.
All right, THQ. I think that's all embargoed, right?
It's all embargoed.
All embargoed.
All
right,
embargoed.
Moving on, Bethesda embargoed, right?
Yes,
All
but
right.
by the way, Fallout 3 fucking amazing.
You can't say that.
No, I can. Pete told me I could say that much. Pete told me I could say Fallout 3 looks amazing.
Of course he would tell you could say that.
You never heard that.
I did.
Capcom embargoed. LucasArts embargoed.
Let's get to the stuff we can talk about, Shane. We had a meeting before the segment started.
Oh yeah, here we go.
What can we talk about?
Electronic Arts. There's a lot of titles we can talk
Bunch
about.
of EA stuff.
Let's run down.
Including me losing a bottle of scotch.
We'll get to that. Yeah, I wasn't surprised by that outcome.
Tyrone hasn't sent me his address, by the way. He needs to send me his, I don't know.
He wants that bottle of scotch.
I know. He's got to get the bottle of scotch.
Okay.
I played a game of Madden with Tyrone Miller of EA.
Did you play the Sims 2 Apartment Pets?
No, I left that to
You
I
missed
left
that
that to
one?
you.
Cats and fish, right?
Well, I played this game called
And ferrets.
Ferrets, a lot of ferrets. I played this game called Zubo, which I'd never heard of. I was like, what's a Zubo? And like, you roll your eyes, and like, I roll my eyes too. And you know, I'll go see what it's all about.
By the way, folks, I want you to know that Zubo has one of the hotter PR chicks around repping it.
She wasn't even there
Is that necessary?
I'm just outing. I'm
Okay.
just outing Shane.
when I said
Zubo was great, man. It was fantastic.
no, I was waiting. Okay, I was waiting.
What's her name?
She wasn't even there.
Talk about the fucking game.
Wait. I was waiting to play Dead Space, and then there was nobody playing Zubo. So like, why don't you go check out Zubo? So I did,
Okay.
and I was glad I did because it's actually pretty good. Zubo
Sure.
is an original RPG for the DS being made in England by a team at EA. And you know, within a few seconds of the demo, I said, "This is the best looking DS game I've ever seen."
Oh, come on.
No, it has like the best 3D because 3D isn't easy on DS, and like it looked really good, like tons of animation. And what this game is, it's like a kid focused mix of like Chrono Trigger and Elite Beat Agents.
What?
Wow.
Oh, now you're interested, huh?
Yeah, now that you finally described it.
Well, so it's a RPG, like a kind of a Japanese RPG. Top-down perspective, you're exploring. You go into random battle. Well, you see the guys on the level. They hit you. You go into a battle scene, and there's 55 different characters, all with unique attacks. And the attacks are rhythm-based, like Elite Beat Agents. You're like tapping along on the screen. You're like tracing things like Elite Beat Agents. Mix that with like traditional turn-based Japanese RPG. Like the aesthetics.
Sounds like shit. Sounds like fucking Tenderondo, dude. It does, man.
Like
I think it sounds awesome.
I think it sounds
Really?
awesome
That
too.
description.
Chrono Trigger and Elite Beat Agents are
Chrono
like two
Trigger
of my
meets-
favorite games.
But the aesthetics will probably turn the average 25 and above off because it's a little bit like Ren and Stimpy meets.
You had me at Japanese RPG from EA, developed by a group in England.
Well,
What's the name that
that's
sounds like a free Flash
what
game?
I find really interesting in that is
Yeah, what's it called?
Zubo.
EA doesn't normally do RPGs, and they said a while ago, I think like sometime in the last year, they came out and said we're going to try and do more like action adventure games and more RPGs and get into these genres we haven't done. And I think this is like the first I've actually heard of them trying to get into RPGs.
As I was sitting through this demo, being like, wow, this game isn't what I expected, and you put a lot of work into this. Why? That's kind of what I asked the dude. I'm like, why did you spend so much time on this game? No one's gonna play this game.
Why do you care so much?
But he's like, oh no, I had this great idea, and I decided why not do it. And like, yeah, I think from what I've seen, if you know a kid with a DS who likes RPGs, who likes play Pokemon or something, check out this game.
All right.
Seriously, I'm not making that shit.
Okay.
Red Alert 3.
What about it? Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
Oh, we can talk about
It's
that.
here on the
Oh,
list. Here on
shit,
the
dude.
list.
Red Alert 3, Red Alert 3 fucking blew me away. I think it's really cool, the idea of amphibious units that include the base units. So, the demo they showed was the same one they showed Evan, Evan wrote that thing up for us. We went over to Moscow, and it's the same deal, basically. But they show this deal where the bases are all amphibious giant mech things.
They move around?
So you can set up a base on ground, right? And then you get attacked or whatever, you get overrun. Well, he just drives the bases off into the water and runs them up the coastline and sets up a new base way up the coast shoreline. You can and sets it up out in the water. But the build sphere for the construction yard stretches out over land, so he's still able to build a barracks on land, but he's able to build a ship.
So if you were attacking him, you would need strong naval units.
Or a way to attack from the air.
Yeah,
or a way to attack from the air. It's pretty cool.
You know what disappointed me about Red Alert 3? I see all the art, and it's this amazing Russian propaganda art, and I kind of wish the game looked like that. I know people might freak out, but wouldn't it be cool if the game had that look? I don't know. That's all I was
I
thinking.
tell you what, after checking that out, and Red Alert was really one of my more favorite RTSs of that generation, and then at the end of it, they show the Japanese show up, and they're like giant anime robots.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh shit. And Andrew Wong tells me, he's like, yeah, at E3 it's going to be playable and we're going to show you the Japanese faction. I was like, oh, okay.
So you're really excited?
Yeah, I'm very excited. The engine looks beautiful. It will come to 360 eventually, but they're obviously doing Red Alert the right way. Red Alert was always the foil to Command and Conquer. People would start to take it maybe a little bit too seriously, but Red Alert, no one ever took it seriously. I mean, this is a game that had bomb dolphins and sharks with laser beams.
Bomb dolphins are real, dude. U.S. government. Watch out.
This is EA LA doing this, right?
Yes.
God, it's amazing how fast they're able to pump out these real-time strategy games, and yet they're not awful.
The game engine alone is really gorgeous.
They did Command & Conquer 3 was just last year, and then the expansion pack just came out.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just unbelievable.
That's all you have to say about that one?
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is another one of those ones where they give you this guided demo, and I hate, especially being the guy who's been in charge of previews now, it's I'm very anti-reading too much into these vertical slice previews. It's very important that when we're talking to people who are listening out there in the audience about a game preview, that they know that, hey, we just saw this one little part of what they decided to show us, and they had it very planned out, and not read too much into that.
This is for the E3 judges thing, though, right?
This was EA3. I mean, this was EA's pre-E3.
Some games are judges only. These games are for most average people as well.
What's with the judges only thing?
Yeah,
Say that for another show.
You don't want to get into that.
Right.
No, go ahead, get into it.
We don't have
we
time.
We got a lot of games to go through. I'm gonna talk about my favorite Wii game from my entire judges experience. Actually, I'm not kidding. Is Hasbro Family Game Night from EA,
which looked fucking so fun.
Well, so I'm a really serious Boggle fan. My Boggle fandom.
Me too.
And I was a little disappointed that this doesn't.
Wow, there was a little twinkle in his eye when he said that.
I was a little.
We should boggle.
I was disappointed that this does not support Big Boggle, aka Deluxe Boggle, which is a 5x5 grid, which completely changes the strategy of Boggle and opens it up. It's only 4x4 Boggle, but that's good. But it also has a bunch of other games like Sorry, Connect 4.
Is Hungry Hippos Hasbro?
No, Hungry Hippos isn't included. But it has a new game.
Battleship.
Has Battleship, but it has this new game called Sorry Sliders, which is the best use of Wiimote ever because it's all it's like boom blocks. You're trying to throw your Sorry pawn at this rotating vortex and hit a certain point.
It's like shuffleboard with shuffleboard with Sorry pieces.
It's like curling kind of actually, because you're trying to knock other people off and there's a lot of physics involved, but it's super fun and that and Boggle with all those other games. It's actually
not bad for a demonstration sport.
Shane, I just got a really good idea. New segment on 1UP FM. You and me playing Boggle together.
Dude.
Just live on air.
As producer of 1UP FM, I will talk with you guys.
As I discovered at EA's thing, Drunk Boggle,
it's an awful idea. It's terrible.
Here's the new ad for it. Got insomnia? Check out 1UP FM.
No, and I'm not shitting you when I say Family Game Night, best third-party Wii game.
It sounds like, if marketed correctly, would sell millions.
Yeah,
and he didn't even get into the customizable room so that, your 12-year-old daughter could enjoy this fantastically furnished room that fit her whimsy.
That is true. Okay, you did not play Left 4 Dead, did you?
I played it at the last event, but it was the same game. Same version, but with another graphics pass.
Those zombies move really fast.
That's the whole thing of it.
It's 28 days later in the game. All right, I didn't actually play it. Madden NFL, you lost a giant bet at, right?
I lost a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue to Tyrone Miller, yes.
But you love, this is the 20th anniversary Madden. It's a real update.
like they take a lot of flack, and I took a lot of flack last year on the game. This is another year where, like, to me, coming out of what I've seen of their work on it, they've really done a lot of work on it. I mean, visually, they've done a number of graphics upgrades, especially in the stadiums with the way the turf looks and the detailing around the stadium. But I think, to me, the biggest deal in the game is that the animation system is no longer canned. So when someone comes to tackle you, you are actually being tackled by a physical entity, and you have the ability to break out of it. So if you get tackled by a guy and you're playing a really strong running back and you want to hit a move, there's a chance you can break out of it. And if you break out of it, you break out of the move and you keep going.
Is it using Euphoria physics?
No, it's not. It's not using Euphoria. They're just doing it. I don't know how they're doing it. I guess it's used something along the same lines.
That's a hard. I mean, you're talking about if it's real tackles and you're escaping, it's like, and you're saying it's not canned animation. It's got to be procedural, and Euphoria is one of the few solutions for that right now. So
I don't know. They didn't say they were using. I think they would have touted that they were using Euphoria if they were. I guess they're doing their own procedural tackling system. I don't know. I saw it in action a couple times. I played the Cowboys, and Romo was able to, like, actually, fight and push off with his hands and get out of tackles that before would have been like, oh, he obviously just got a canned sack animation.
Do you have anything to say about NCAA or Tiger Woods? Not so much.
To basketball and
did they have the Wii versions of these games available? Because they just announced today the All Play.
All Play, which we're going to have a bunch of stuff in EGM on. So I'm excited about All Play. I think All Play is really cool. I mean,
we'll talk about it in news.
We'll talk about it.
And Warhammer Online.
Wait, before you leave sports, because I'm going to talk about Madden a bunch more. And you guys should. I need to go on Sports Anomaly to talk about Madden.
Yeah,
I want to nerd out.
Perhaps that's a better venue for your Madden.
I want to nerd out on Madden because Madden is fucking awesome, and I really had a good time with it. But hockey.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hockey fucking blew me away, dude.
You can't talk about that.
Yeah, no, I can totally talk about it.
It's on my list. You can't talk about it.
It's on my list I can't talk about. What do you say?
Right here, I have a list of when you can talk about games. NHL says you can talk about it on July 14th at 9 a.m. Shut the fuck up, Garnet.
The timestamp and the clean edit.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, fine. Overrule me on sports. Whatever. You want to talk about Warhammer, talk about Warhammer. But I didn't get to play Warhammer. Scooter played Warhammer.
I didn't play it either. Well, I've been saving the EA's crown jewel that really surprised me.
Run Like Hell 2.
Why you gotta be a hater? I can't. So they showed us Dead Space first, like 6 months ago, and I was like, I don't know. It seems really derivative. Seems like it's this plus that. But getting my hands on, I was very, very surprised by how fun it is to play, by the weapon types, by like the enemies are very creative and do surprising things. The graphics are good. Yeah, I was really loving Dead Space, and like.
Really?
Everyone I talked to, we were all like, "That's really good." I was very surprised. Like,
can you give some more specifics on what exactly is so surprising?
The level they showed us was like pretty deep in the game, so you have a lot of different weapons at your disposal, and you're fighting a lot of different enemy types at the same time. That's what really surprised me. And most most FPSs, most survival horror games, one level might have like 3 enemy types.
Yeah.
But I fought like 5 different enemies, and they were interacting with each other. There were guys who would like go to corpses and bring them back to life, and like just surprise you with the attack patterns, and like the alternate fires on your guns were really creative and interesting.
They're not even guns; they're like drilling weapons, and
they're weird weapons. Like, like, none of the weapons are normal. You're like, what does that do? And
they're all different drilling. Sorry, not weapons, but drilling tools and like stuff you'd find around the ship.
And the enemies you're facing are interesting because like it's usually you're trying to like sever some sort of like tube on the enemy to kill it. Like if you hit it in the like you think a headshot is what I need. Like no, like most of these enemies like they have these weird appendages attached by like flagellating stalks, and you're supposed to like slice through these different tubes to kill them.
You know what I like about that game? I like the fact that like your health is visually represented on the
your
back
spine.
On the back of the character, which that's cool.
By the end of this demo, I was actually kind of liking the character. At first, I thought he looked really lame, but I got used to him, and it just reminded me of like Enemy Zero meets Resident Evil 4 meets The Thing.
Meets Dino Crisis 3 meets Run Like Hell 2.
and there's these interesting zero gravity portions.
At some point, you're just gonna get to where you're just like naming every horror.
Well, like it wasn't like every EA game has the Razor's X of like we're taking this and meeting this, and that's the pitch. But here it really works. And these zero gravity parts, they're more puzzly. You're like looking around in these weird. You're in this giant spaceship, and you're trying to vault from this part to this part through these zero G sections. Zero G sections as things are floating around.
Is that coming out this year?
It comes out in October, and the level I played, the pacing was interesting.
It looks pretty.
It's pretty.
It really does look pretty.
It's evocative. The enemies surprised me. Yeah, I walked out like I want to play more of that game.
You know what else we need to note that I can talk about next week?
What?
I sat for 45 minutes with Will Wright and played Spore.
Okay, we'll talk about it next week.
And it's in the. You should check out the interview's already up.
Okay.
Because we were able to put the interview up today, so we should check out the interview. Because Will is a really, really, really intelligent guy. He made me feel like it was about 50 IQ.
But Dead Space is definitely back on my radar, and want to see more.
You saying that wasn't a challenge? Is that what you're saying? You're saying that's not a challenge?
Anything,
that's fucking what you like. You and Philip looking at each other like, oh, that was a big challenge.
Garden, didn't I tell
you made it so easy. Then.
Didn't I tell you to play Dead Space there? It was good.
You did.
You did.
It ran out of time. That was a crazy event.
All right, what else?
Last but not least, we were at the Games for Windows showcase yesterday.
Yeah, I guess I won't talk about Naruto 2 for Wii. It's pretty good.
I think you just did. There you go.
Noted.
Duly noted.
Next.
Oh, what about Damnation? You want to talk about that now?
Oh, we can talk about Damnation. So, So Damnation is Codemasters' one game that we saw that was pretty good, and
ouch.
Well,
did they not show Flashpoint 2?
They did not show Flashpoint 2.
Nor Heist, mysteriously.
Yeah, mysteriously.
I think Heist may have been up and heisted.
Anyway, what's that?
Nothing.
Andrew's noting his timestamp. He's like, that was hand signals. People cannot see hand signals. This is radio. It's audio.
Let's keep talking about it.
All right.
Damnation.
So Damnation is really funny. While every so often Epic does these Make Something Unreal contests, right? Damnation didn't quite win the Make Something Unreal contest. They came in second place, and Codemasters picked them up. And it's this bizarre thing. It's like. So imagine the Civil War never ended and went on for 20 years.
I'm from the South. This isn't that far from reality.
Okay, so Civil War went on for 20 years.
It's not a fantasy far from many in your family.
A lot of Confederate flags and gun racks and trucks.
So imagine it really never ended, and somewhere about 20 years after the Civil War, this industrialist starts to basically start to impose a fascist will across the United States, starts trying to move east to west and take over the country. And you play rebel fighter who's standing up to him in the Unreal Engine. It's not bad. It's interesting. The level that they showed off to us was somewhere in around the Mississippi, and it had a lot of working through a late 1800s environment with a bridge, and I don't know. It's very unreal looking.
Are you loading a musket?
It was extremely unreal looking, which was it still kind of felt like a mod. It felt like a really good mod, like a really, really polished, well put together, well thought out mod, but it still sort of felt like a mod.
It's called Tarnation.
60% of games are all unreal looking right now.
It's true.
Because they're all using the engine.
It's true, and it really had that problem, like the brick walls, especially, and the semi-ruined buildings that you're moving through, and all that. I was like, wow, it's totally Gears. But it's cool. It could be really cool. It depends. It hinges on the story, and it's definitely something you haven't played before. It
might not hinge on the story though. Turning Point: Fall of Liberty came out recently, and of course that was alternate World War II history. In that case, it was what if England succumbed to the Nazis and they never invaded the East. And it was like they could do fun things with the concept, but the game just sucked.
What was that PC game 2 years ago? I think it was around 2 years ago. Shattered Union, or whatever.
Right.
The modern day Civil War.
Oh shit!
PopCap. That was actually really good.
Really?
That was a cool game.
See, I like the concept. I always wanted to play that and never got around.
That was a cool game. That was the same guys who did Tropico, I think. Wasn't that the same guys? Sorry, we dove off down a whole other rabbit hole. So anyway, Games for Windows.
Yeah.
What did you think of the event?
The broad strokes, it was kind of weird. I mean, Games for Windows is having its annual event, so it had been a full year since we had heard anything significant from them. Microsoft's recent press event, they didn't mention PC platform stuff at all. And we get there, and they're like, we're proud to show all these new games. And I'm going there wringing my hands, waiting to see
did they show Dragon Age?
Dragon Age and Far Cry 2 and Crisis Warhead and stuff. But, of course, none of these are there.
Right.
And
which sucks.
6 of the 8 games they had
sucks.
are all multi-platform games that you'd already been looking at for 360 and PS3 in some instances. That was kind of disappointing. I mean, it wasn't really the best message, but again, it was kind of a realistic message. I mean, when we were talking, what is the guy's full name?
Kevin. I always screw up Kevin's last name, and I really like Kevin. I've known Kevin for 4.5 years now or so, and he's a really cool guy. Kevin Ernst.
Yeah,
Ernst?
he's a totally nice guy.
That.
But
anyway, he's the director of the Games for Windows platform.
Right. Their whole message for me was frustrating. Was that basically, once again, telling you, PC gaming is a viable platform, from a financial point of view, and that PC games are selling. And it's like, okay, cool to hear that again, but what have you got for us, And what they had for us was the usual list signs of a multi-platform world. So at the same time, I felt that it undermined their message. When they want to brag about DX10 and all these things that you're able to do with this next-gen graphics technology, and then you're showing us, Ghostbusters and COD and all these games are multi-platform, that doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't diminish my enjoyment of a game knowing someone's playing on a console. Far from it. I like that. But what it does mean is that people developing these games aren't developing for DX10. These are like, in any quantitative way, what they can do is put these switches in and say it gets prettier when you turn this on, but it's never doing anything to the game itself. And and the one option was like, they're showing Stalker Clear Sky, not as part of the Games for Windows thing, but in NVIDIA's booth. And you see, all these air currents flowing over objects and, in these like refrigerated rooms and stuff. And you're like, oh, that would be great if there were the ghosts and poltergeists in there and you have to track them by the air. But they can't do that because in that case, they don't want to make the min spec be DX10. But then when you look at it as a game that's on multi-platform, it wouldn't be in there at all in any real gameplay sense because it's not going to work on 360 and PS3. I thought that was frustrating. What is the message you get out of there? I mean, when we asked them to reiterate, it was like PC's doing well, but I mean, it just seemed like they ducked all of the questions there, and it was like wait and see. We're going to talk about more stuff later on. We're going to talk about more stuff, and it was kind of you rented this
That was the weakest event, and that was the most difficult position they could have put themselves in. And I don't think they felt like they had to do something prior to E3 because I think they felt like what they had to talk about was so weak that it wouldn't have stood up well at E3.
So was it cheerleading, but it felt half-hearted, or like?
Put it this way: Wall-E and Kung Fu Panda were among the. If you're showing 8 games,
remember what they showed?
Those were 2 of them.
Remember what they showed last year at the press conference? B movie.
That's here,
and those are coming out. I mean, those are already out like today. Wall-E, right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, yeah.
So today, Friday.
We gotta.
Well, I mean, I offered Kevin a chance to dig into it first.
Wall-E.
like, come on. I mean, seriously, PC gaming's not dead.
No, not at all.
And no one even writes that story anymore. It's absurd. It's stupid.
But we talk about how it's changing.
It's changing. So why, for the third year in a row, does the presentation begin with, contrary to popular belief, PC gaming is not
and
dead?
Not get to the real.
Just fucking get on with it. Don't be the talking corpse.
They made 2 big points, and one was that more PC gaming software was sold last year than Wii software.
Yep.
But then I tried to ask, how
the
broad
breakdown?
Is this? What's the breakdown? Are you counting, what kind of games are you counting as gaming software? I mean, is it so?
Yep.
And then when they said that PC gaming software sales, and this was all retail, outdid the revenue drawn from the sales of PS3 games, and it's like, well, tell us what the Warcraft subscription figure is in here so we get a real sense, because it's like there's no doubt that PC's doing fine, but the question is like, where is it going, and what is the face of it? What's the face of the future in it?
Well, InstantAction.com is part of the future of it, right?
Right, and
that's a big part of it, and casual gaming is a big part of it. And the question I think you were trying to ask that I never heard a good answer for is what about the core gamer?
Right. I really don't think they had much to say there other than that, we take, they reiterated the things. They're like, we're Microsoft. There's just this thing, we're Microsoft, and that's supposed to end all discussion. We're known for innovation and stuff. And it's like, no, well, I mean, I see you borrowing stuff from your OSs. I see you making Zunes based on Apple. I see Steam leading the way in so many respects. Not only in the, and then, when we'd ask about Steam, what they would always say is, well, we're not in the digital distribution thing right now. That led to other questions about why the GFW initiative is so heavily tailored to retail when things are going digital. But I said, let's not talk about distribution. Let's talk about the product. You're directly competing when it comes to GFW Live and it comes to Steam community. And then he would answer, well, we're not a digital distribution service.
Right.
Like, what? Why are you having a press event?
Did they talk much about GFW Live, and they talk subscription numbers?
Nothing. They wouldn't talk about that. They wouldn't talk about getting Live Arcade on PC, which is another no-brainer. All that's happening are those games are ending up on Steam.
Here's the reason. I mean, you saw through that. I mean, it was very evident that they're getting ready to reboot Games Windows Live. They're getting ready to reboot Games Windows Live.
If you look at the leaks of the avatars and stuff, you wonder if they're getting ready to reboot Xbox Live.
I think they're definitely doing that.
They said they know they have to be different now. They know Xbox Live and GFW Live have got to be different. You can't just take the one and put it in the other space. And they admitted that's what they had done. And part of that is saying we're not going to try to expect to charge people for this shit anymore.
You got to be that way, right? That was ridiculous. I mean, they even
so they said that it's not going to cost money.
They didn't say they weren't going to charge for it, but they said that they're going to take a look at Games for Windows Live with an eye towards building the best multiplayer PC experience. And they said we didn't do that the first time. we looked at it as how do we bring the Xbox
everybody told
over?
them that instantly. It wasn't like some pundits thought this was a good idea.
No, that we really listen to our audience. They listen to their audience after the audience goes apeshit. You know, they don't listen to them before.
Sean and I literally beat Kevin over the head with that question. Like probably a dozen different ways, and they wouldn't give us any more information.
He spun so much, he fell
for the
over.
games that were there, the other thing is that like more than half of them were being played with Xbox 360 controllers. You know, Ghostbusters is one of them. That game, I really didn't know what to make of it, but I was pretty interested watching it on one condition, and that's that they put a co-op mode in. They will not confirm or deny, but you know they're
wait. There's no co-op in Ghostbusters, a game where it takes two people to put a ghost in the trap,
and that's for the obvious reasons, right? It's like I mean, so you're playing cooperatively, and the more the merrier.
They should call it Ghostbuster.
Yeah. So like I mean, the fun thing would be wrangling, you know, all of your analog sticks to get the ghosts into the trap, and you know, no one of you can do it alone. But aside from that, just a single player going through, it looked cool. I mean,
it took all four of them to take down Gozer.
Yeah, they're not doing it. They're not doing it. But there was some cool stuff, right? I mean, the New York Library was one scene, and so all the books were physical objects, meaning that, you know, they're not parts of the texture, parts of the environment, but they would actually, and then they do neat things with it, like they'd have a poltergeist that would summon them and form a golem out of those books. And then in order to fight it, you have to find this, I don't know what the ghost busting term is, but it's basically like the phantasmagorical linchpin of the thing, and that happens to be this one item. It's like a book, banker's lamp or something. So you get that and you yank that away, and then the books will collapse and fall down. And I mean, if you got a game with like a lot of physics, you know, with like a good physics solution, ghosts are a great way to do it, right? Shit flying around all the time, surprising you, scaring you.
I thought Ghostbusters really, every time I've seen it in the last 2 months, I was surprised by it.
Yeah. Has some condemned elements, you know, you pull out your ecto reader and you sort of like fall. It's like a dowsing rod for fucking ectoplasm or something. And you kind of like hunt out where the ghosts are going to be with this thing, and you could see their trails and their slime. And
Can I tab Ghostbusters as a sleeper? I mean, could it count as a sleeper for a game at least?
I think so.
I think I would definitely tab it as a sleeper.
I think it already has that cred.
Definitely
Street
tab
cred.
it as a sleeper.
It could, yeah. I was happy also. I played Bionic Commando, and that was so much fun. I mean, unlike some of the earlier free-roaming Spider-Man games where you just sort of press the button.
What level did you play?
I played
it was the same thing we played. It was the same thing we played.
See, my problem with that game was once I mastered the traversal, I was having fun traversing through the levels, but I was never having fun in combat ever.
This is the
I had
brand
fun
new
in
one,
combat.
right?
So
really?
Yeah. Here's why. Like,
yes.
So as apart from the Spider-Man ones where you just press a button and you get a web contact no matter what, you have to point at something and decide how you're going to traverse it. And I was going through, and then the fights were cool, right? You have this tarantula rocket launcher, kind of remind me of something out of Crackdown.
Okay, well like the Panzer Dragoon style weapon where you like log on to people.
Yes.
Let me
that
describe
is
it for people that aren't familiar with it. You know, I mean, you're able to select multiple targets, fire and forget. So then go take cover as the rocket will split and seek out all those targets. Another thing, you have an option. You can hit them with your bionic grappling thing, which is a big issue. That guy's got dreads. He's got that means he's taking a shower not only with a trash bag on his head but over his arm as well.
Dude, Nathan Spencer has been in prison. Things happen there.
What they showed off.
Shower
hold on, the
version.
combat, like you hit someone with the grappling hook and then you pull yourself to him and you do a couple hits on him. Then you can punch them, and then there's also Devil May Cry things where you can throw them up in the air and you jump up with them and punch them away, and then you can knock someone else over with them.
So I think what you hit on is exactly it. They showed the beginnings of lots of different things, but to make the game work, they're going to have to decide what do they want to be. Do they want to be a traversal game? Do they want to be an adventure game? Do they want to be exploring areas, or do they want to be a combat game?
It seems to work fine as both for me right now. I mean, say you traverse for about 10 minutes and then you get in a fight.
I think they're going to have
10 guys and you traverse some more stuff.
I think they need to commit to one.
It seemed to me they'd really thought out the traversal, but hadn't completely thought out the combat when I played it. Like, because individual combat was sometimes fun, but in general, like your basic weapon versus a basic troop was not fun to me.
Yeah.
Well, what they solved in that is like Crackdown. I mean, a one-on-one fight in Crackdown is ridiculous. I mean, you can't call that fun. So you throw a whole bunch of enemies on there, and then you make your mobility again like Crackdown the issue. And so when I played the level I played, there was like 10 enemies. There was some kind of airship that came down, and I was grappling off the airship, kicking it, hitting it with tarantula rockets, dropping down, and then when it would shoot missiles at me, I would kind of like swing over the side of a building, take cover down there, and come back up. Maybe we played different levels or something. I don't know.
It's the same demo. It's the same demo. It was like 3 parts.
They had like 3.5 levels.
Yeah, it was 3.5 levels.
But based on that, I mean, I I told the guy I was serious. It's like, this is fun. I enjoy playing this.
It definitely is fun, but because I like the traversal, I really want the design just to be perfect. I hope they give it a lot of time.
When's it coming out?
Next spring. So they
so
got a lot of time.
A lot of time to do that stuff. And then the other thing there was cool. I mean, aside from I didn't get to play Space Siege. Someone else is assigned to that for the preview.
Scooter did that for us.
So I mean, we'll have to look for the previews on that. But the NVIDIA.
No, the Scooter didn't. Anthony did it.
Anthony, okay.
Yeah.
So, but the NVIDIA demonstration's kind of like a side thing. They have some ridiculous stuff going now, and basically what they're doing is they acquired AGEA, which was making physics PPU, physics processing unit hardware, and they said no one's buying this, no one's going to make games for it for the same reasons.
Dude, I've seen those same demos for like 2 years, but on a dedicated card.
Right, and so what they're doing now, here's the thing, is that you have your NVIDIA graphics card, and it is also handling all the physics stuff too. And if you got an old one, you can put that in there, and it turns that into a physics card or whatever.
So let me explain that a little more, because I actually got into it deep with Ken, because this is really cool. If you have an 8000 series or higher NVIDIA card, then when you buy your next card, you keep your 8000 card, you leave it in there, and the driver will recognize the new video card and say, okay, that's the video card, and it'll turn your old 8000 series video card into a physics card. Because all the video card is a processor and some memory, right?
Yeah.
So through the driver, they just tell it a different set of codes to crunch. Because they now own AGEA, so they own all that physics technology of how the silicon was processing the instruction sets, and they just send it to the old video card, and they say, you process this shit.
That's crazy.
That's very cool.
For the future of games, I mean, it was nice to see those demos, because like they would have water, and instead of having water composed of like 20,000 particles, it would be composed of like 500,000 or something, and it's like a huge difference.
It was absurd.
It doesn't look like Vaseline on a conveyor belt or anymore. It really looks like you could see each drop coming back together, and not slimy at all. And you're like, this is a cool thing. And if you could design a game knowing that everyone had this ability, again, it would be great. But it's like DX10, where you can't count on your audience being able to run this kind of physics operation at more than 10 frames a second. So it's right now, it's just a tantalizing glimpse at the future. Same thing with the soft body thing. They created this big nasty slug thing, and the whole thing was like, it's just like soft body physics, so it just jiggles if you poke it and stuff. I mean, they've showed similar things.
Better than the meat too.
It was much better than the meat cube.
Yeah, it was rounded. It was all rounded. So
and
it was
what
really
they did in this simple demo, this thing comes off a platform and it's like chasing you, and so you go. It's far larger than you. It's a first-person setup, and you go through a little door or something. It can like squeeze and wriggle through in real time because its body is just like pudding or something. And you're like, if someone was able to do a game on this, it would be so much fun.
Whoever's making the Akira game needs that technology.
The other thing they show is like you can mod Unreal, and they made imagine Unreal Tournament 3 where like everything in the environment's destructible, every board and everything. It's just like far more than Gears.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
Is that coming down?
Is that a game update then?
It was a mod that they made to demonstrate the power of their physics thing.
Okay.
But again, it illustrates the point that Epic's not going to release UT3 at that rate when it's also coming out on PS3 and 360 and stuff. And it's like, and then when only so many of their PC players even have that tech, so it's like people have to make mods of this kind of thing. So again, it's like, it's just how PC is. You get a nice glimpse at the future, but you know that you're not going to see real games for a while.
AGEA never was able to get momentum from the development side behind them. Ken Brown, who's the NVIDIA PR coordinator or whatever, said that they have a commitment from 60%, whatever the hell he pulled this number from, of upcoming PC developers that they'll put AGEA technology in their game. Mm-hmm. That's not bad. It's not bad. 60% is good.
Were you there when I asked him when he was showing that water stuff, and I was like, imagine if BioShock would have had this technology?
No, but imagine.
And he was like, well, let's just say someone, and I was talking to him about the future and stuff. He's like, let's just say someone is doing something with this that you'll hear about in the near future. So that would be pretty cool if like a BioShock 2 or something had this
Episode 3. Gabe's always said you can add stuff into that engine. I mean, that's always been the thing of that engine. Like Source, you just add stuff into it.
Last note on that, we're supposed to hear about that at E3
I know,
now,
I can't fucking wait, dude.
News story.
Cannot fucking wait. All right, so let's get, dude, that was a lot of games. We did fuck tons of games.
Too many games.
All right, so you know what the music means? It's coming up now. It means when we come back in just a minute, we will have the news. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Oh shit! Killzone. We have to wait. We cannot, dude. I know we cannot forget Killzone again because you have the magazine right there in your hands, and we were gonna gloss.
It is true.
We're gonna gloss right past it.
Subscribers have begun receiving their August 2008 issues of EGM magazine,
filled with the grays and browns of Gears of Killzone.
Oh Jesus! It's funny.
Trolling already.
It's funny. Like after I went to Gorilla to see Killzone 2, one of the guys, one of the art guys was like, tell me honestly, do you think our game's too brown? And I was like, the level, their one level's a little brown, and the other level's a little gray. But Metal Gear also uses a limited muted color palette.
It does.
A lot of games use this to great effect, and he's like, other levels have a lot of color. In fact, one level apparently is purple.
Perhaps they should start showing these other levels.
Hey.
All right, so
everyone thinks Killzone 2 has terrible graphics. You're right, Skip.
No, everyone thinks Resistance 2 has terrible graphics, and I think that's nuts. I don't understand the backlash because I watched
people
that.
think Resistance 2 has terrible graphics.
I know.
Who?
Did you not read the backlash
after
they had the bit on game trailers? Like people were like, "Oh my God, Resistance 2 fail."
All right, this is more about the Killzone 2.
Okay, Killzone 2.
And I'm not Mr. FPS. I've said that here on this podcast before.
No.
Which is why we sent him over to look at the game.
But I do play once in a while. I do play an FPS.
I want to point out, I walked into Shane's office when he was writing this cover story, and he was like practically crying. Like,
yeah, I was.
Writing a story about an FPS is really difficult.
Well, because there was a lot of crying while I wrote the story because it's the first.
It is the crying game.
It's Shane's method revealed.
It's the first cover story I've written in quite some time that isn't about a franchise that I inherently know a lot about. Like, I first visited Guerrilla 4 years ago, way before Killzone 1 came out, on a tour of different things. And I met these guys, played the game. That was the end-all, be-all of my Killzone experience until I went to see Killzone 2, and I played through Killzone Liberation on PSP, which is really good. It's like this...
And really hard.
It's not that hard, dude.
It has some parts that are pretty brutal.
But it's not an FPS, so it doesn't require FPS skills, which I don't have a lot of. So I had a good time with that. But just to understand like the narrative and like there's all this backstory to Killzone. It's very deep actually, like much deeper than I expected. So in order to write about this as if I knew what I was talking about, I had to research all that shit, which is a lot of work. But
Killzone's definitely some high concept stuff in there, and I don't argue with that.
Right.
I argue with the execution in places. So I've only seen a small slice.
So you played through half of the level that I went and played.
The whole thing.
Right.
Hold on. Before we get further into this, we should explain that Sean has left the show.
Oh yeah, Sean had to go take
Sean had to go. We were recording really late on Thursday, and he lives in the East Bay, so we had to go.
Yeah, he had to go hit the BART.
So
okay, so but when I got in here, like I'm interested in the game, but I'm also interested in like Guerrilla themselves because they've never had it easy. Killzone was supposed to be the Halo killer, it wasn't.
Killzone, man, they got in such trouble with that. Like, do you remember the OPM where they broke down, like, they really, really broke down Killzone? They were like, here's what we want to do. Here's how the levels are going to work. Here's how they're going to be dynamic, and the AI is going to respond to what you're doing.
Right.
And that OPM article alone set such a bar for them.
Well, Killzone 1 was overly ambitious, and then the media like took up the Halo killer mantle and like thrust it upon them.
I always believed that Killzone 1 was ahead of its time, and it should have been saved for a PS3 launch title.
Right.
Okay.
So like Killzone 1 never really had a chance, but with Killzone 2, they had the chance to do it all right and prove to everybody they could do it. And what do? They make this CG clip that sets everyone's expectations to some astronomical level.
And you said in the story they did that before even starting like working on the game,
right? Right before Killzone 1 was even finished, they started working on this Killzone 2 clip. So I'm like, why did you guys do this? And they're like, well, that's how we're used to working under this insane pressure. So like they're used to like setting these insane zenith unreachable points. And if you talk to these guys now, they are convinced that they can meet that level, they can match that teaser, and they're getting pretty close.
Visually, they are getting pretty close, but are they getting there without making compromises in how the game plays? And that's my problem. My problem is in playing that first level, which is like you're going through a bombed out river bed, and there's like been a big defensive structure that's built there.
Okay, you at the very beginning of this level we're talking about is very much like a Medal of Honor style level where you land here and this huge assault and people are getting picked off all around you. The chaos of war is all around you, and you're about to complain that you discovered infinite spawn points on this completely destroys Killzone 2 and it's a piece of shit. Right? That's your fatalist.
Not a piece of shit.
No, but it's funny that when Sean brings up the endless spawn points of Call of Duty, you're like, I never noticed those. But like, that's your one point against Killzone 2.
Oh no,
it has endless spawn points.
Hold on. I didn't notice them in the very, very guided demo that they did of World at War, which is why I wish they had let us play it because I'd like to know that because I took 3 to task for that.
I'll tell you, I never noticed the endless spawn points in the beginning of this level of Killzone 2 because I was so like bewildered by the chaos around me and following my AI buddies forward.
You mean they were very successful in distracting you.
Well, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. That's
Right.
this whole level of smoke and mirrors. Like any giant war level.
True.
That really isn't all happening around you in any of these games. It's all smoke and mirrors.
My frustration with it was that I was a little too heavy with the smoke and mirrors, and they weren't very good at backdropping. They weren't very good at throwing a curtain in front of stuff you shouldn't see with other parts of the environment. In other words, you're snaking through this windy route through the river, all these different embattlements and defensive positions and all that sort of thing. And there are places where you have sight lines clearly into another arena that you're going to face, where you can pull out your rifle and zoom in and shoot guys, and it's completely immaterial if you do that. It does not help you advance. It does not help you gain an advantage. It does not help the guys in front of you gain an advantage. It plays no part in the game, to the point where the producer finally looked over and said, yeah, you're going to get to that scene in a couple of more turns, and until you get there, you
Save
can't really,
your ammo.
Yeah, you really can't do anything.
Well,
that broke
that's
the
a little
illusion.
that's a little clumsy.
That's
there, I will
clumsy.
say.
And so what I'm saying is that, like, even if you have to just like erect the wall of the base high enough that I can't see those guys, do that, because I don't want to be. I don't want to even be distracted by
that. Wasn't my experience.
Keep me focused where I should be focused.
Going through this level was I stayed on focus, and like definitely it was a guided level. It's a linear level. I mean, the parts of it you open up and they're bigger. You see other things, but you're going through this. You have an objective. You're getting radios. You're being told where to go. And the other thing that's important with this game, you always have AI buddies with you, always.
And they're not bad.
They're not bad.
And
you can help them. You can pull them over things. You've seen the buddy assist animation, which is amazing. And like although they wouldn't talk about multiplayer, to me, if this doesn't have co-op throughout, it's a huge mistake.
Be a big loss.
It's a huge mistake.
I agree.
And it appears that it's being built around having co-op throughout, based on what I saw.
It does appear that way.
So, as you're going through this level in the Helghast capital, when you get to the more of the interior levels, I felt those were much stronger because you don't get, you feel much more the tense AI. And what they've done to the Helghast troops, they're much smarter. They'll jump over things. They'll take cover. They'll look for better cover. You start to shoot what they're behind. They'll dive over to better cover.
Yep.
And the cover mechanic is straight out of Uncharted, very arcadey. And someone who's not like Mr. FPS, I was really happy with that.
I liked that. I agree. I like that a lot too.
It's very arcadey, which I do like.
What I liked the most in the build that we played was that there was a significant difference between shooting with the iron sights up and shooting from the hip. If you're shooting from the hip, your accuracy was significantly diminished to the point that it really forced you into a soldier's mentality of get to a position, pull your gun up and fire, and if you're just firing from your hip, then you're just firing to suppress.
And it's much more of a pop and drop and pop and lock. What does Cliffy say? pop and stop and pop. It's stop and pop. It's not run and gun.
I'm going to save that clip.
Yeah.
Promo.
It's very stop and pop. And yeah, I was having a really fun time going through this level, and I was able to get through it, which is
I noticed.
impressive.
I read the cover story, and I noticed that the one thing that you seemed a little bit more critical of is the vehicles in the game.
Okay, well, so that was the big thing. At the very end of this level, I was the first journalist to get to play a vehicle.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And I get in this giant tank, and it's like slow and clumsy, and I'm trying to like turn it around, and like the area where they gave you the tank wasn't really big enough to play around with it, and you were fighting other enemy tanks who were much better at driving their tanks than you, so I was constantly dying in the tank. And yeah, I was like, I like adding vehicles, and I hope the other vehicles they add are more mobile, because this one was just a little too clunky for me.
Do you get the feeling, and I mean maybe it's too early to tell, but do you get the feeling that the vehicle segments are going to open up and be a little more freeform? Because I know like new Call of Duty, that's one of the things that they were talking about too, is they're going to have more vehicular combat, which I think is really interesting. But in previous Call of Duty games, when there have been vehicle segments, they've been very
rails.
straightforward and on rails.
Well, that's kind of what this felt too. I was like, you're in a big giant field that's blocked off, and it's tanks versus tanks, and it's playground, but I almost had more fun on foot, and I actually had better luck taking out the enemy tanks on foot than in this tank.
Here's the big takeaway that I had from the part that I played, which was that it was very competent, it was pretty. However, it didn't do anything to stand out and distinguish itself. In that the big things were like, okay, so you shoot an acetylene bottle and the top pops off of it and it flies around the room for a minute from the acetylene pressure and then blows up. I've seen that before.
So what I took away from this is it's a very arcadey, fun, slick shooter that it's guided, and you've kind of seen it before, but the graphics are just.
It is pretty.
Stellar.
It is very, very pretty.
You probably didn't see many of the cutscenes, but the cutscenes are really impressive. They remind me of Heavenly Sword, which I love. I love me some Heavenly Sword.
I liked me some Heavenly Sword.
But I love me some Heavenly Sword partially because of the presentation, and this has the same thing in that they had the same actors do the motion capture, do the voices, everything's seamless, it's all in engine. and looks really good.
So does like the story and the characters seem like worth giving a damn about?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this time, like, the heroes from Killzone 1 and 2 are going to the enemy planet to like take it over and take it down. So it's flipping the perspective of like,
sounds like Starship Troopers-y.
It is a little Starship. Like, are we liberators? Are we like attacking these people? Who are these people? These people used to be humans, and they've kind of like turned into these other things. So
I can kind of understand where you're coming from, because I think for me, my degree of like being really excited and engaged and hyped for a title is that way with Resistance. Like I'm dying for Resistance 2, and to me, Resistance 2, just seeing like the multiplayer up and around the sawmill and the potential of fighting in Chicago, and I know there's gonna be some stuff on the West Coast, and just all of those different things makes Resistance to me jump and go, oh my god, I can't wait to fucking play the game.
But I mean, ultimately, for me, the thing that I took away from Killzone were the graphics, and call me a graphics whore or whatever, but
graphics whore.
Call me, but
whatever.
There are things I saw in this game that I've never seen in other games. Look quite so good. I've talked about this before. There's a part halfway through this level where you get to a structure, and there's some turrets, and you go to this one turret, and you realize you can destroy these buildings that are next to you, and you can actually take them out because there's like explosives like at different parts of them. So if you successfully take out these whole buildings, you watch these giant structures crumble, and it looks so realistic. I mean, like they were able to tear away the different particle passes and show me, oh, this is what's happening here, this is what's happening there.
Oh, they broke it down for you.
They broke it down, and the particle effects were retarded. Oh, we're not supposed to say that. Really, really fantastic. And like the wind is blowing the particles over you, and you look.
In general, their filmic effects are amazing.
Well, yeah, and like for example, like after this building collapses realistically, and the smoke is being blown through the air, they're like, oh, look up at the sun. I look up at the sun, and the debris from the smoke is glinting in the sunlight, and just the passes given to these graphics are.
Were you aware of the
ridiculous.
fact? And I picked this up after playing it through a second time. We were aware of the fact that when you turn with your gun, the speed or the rate at which you make a turn, the motion blur effect is varied based on how fast you turn. So if you turn a little bit, you only go a little bit out of focus and it comes back real fast. But if you turn like all the way around 100 degrees real fast, it blurs all the way out, and then it like slowly brings your focus back.
Yeah, I found the graphics
very, very high attention.
I found the graphics to be phenomenal. I didn't mind the muted color palette because it worked. It seemed oppressive, and this is this like evil home planet of these. I'm
going to play my graphics whore card on this too, because that was
Ka-Trump
right on the table, because that's what I was saying about the first Killzone, is ahead of its time. And I gave it I think a 7 in my review or something, but it was like the graphical issues that really kept it back, and this just looks so much better now.
Yeah, and the physicality of it, that's something that really impressed me. Like, your interactions with the world, and you're like climbing over things, people are pulling you, and like in first person, it's really hard to make that seem believable.
You know what it feels a lot like? It feels a lot like the end part of Children of Men.
I haven't seen it. I want to see that film. I haven't seen it.
Now I'm really excited, because that scene
it sort of has that same sort of intensity and feel to it. And if they could capture a little bit more of that and less of the linearity, I think they'd really nail it. Like I wish, like guys, if you're over there in Amsterdam listening, watch the end sequence of Children of Men another 3 or 4 times and get that.
Well, and it's funny because Children of Men, all movies are linear, but Children of Men seemed like a really linear part, especially that scene, because he was going through that battle.
Oh man, it was amazing.
But yeah, you kind of get the sense that tons are going on in this world, and they haven't shown us hardly any of the game.
No, they haven't.
And I think at E3, I mean, they want Resistance to shine, but I think you're going to see some new parts of Killzone 2 that are really impressive.
Speaking of that, though, I think one of the smartest things that Sony has done about this game is pushing it back to 2009, because if this were coming out this fall, there's so many other games that I'm excited about, I don't think I would care.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that this is going to be coming out in February, during a time of the year when traditionally there aren't a lot of big AAA releases, I'm really psyched. I can't wait to check it out.
Not just that, but Resistance and Killzone are just so similar.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I want to mention, which seems a little bit like the sound in this game
was very good.
I'd go beyond it. They showed it to us in like a 7.1 room with like everything.
Oh Lord!
Like really showing off what it can do, and Metal Gear has an amazing sound mix, an amazing surround sound mix. But they're taking it even further. And like if you have all that expensive shit, it's nuts.
It's gonna be awesome. All right, now we can go to news.
Now we can.
Finally.
All right, now we can go to news. So stick around, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for news. Ladies, you know him, you love him. It's Mr. Philip Kohler, our news guy.
The ladies do love me. That's actually true.
Hey, lady!
LL Cool P.
LL Cool P.
All right.
Wow.
tagged and bagged.
Luke Smith version 3.0.
No, dude, don't do that to yourself.
I'm trying not to. All right, so we're going to start off this week. Whole bunch of big PS3 upgrades coming. First off, one that's already there. Apparently, the PS3 friends list has expanded to 100.
I'm so excited about that. Actually, I am. Because
this is kind of funny because I added a new friend on PS3 just last night, and I was looking at my friends list, and I knew that it was 50 was the limit, and I'm like, I must have near 50, and I counted, and I actually had 48, and I'm like, oh crap, that sucks. I'm gonna have to start doing.
I had to delete 10 people a while ago, and they were not happy.
I have 4 people.
I'll be your friend.
I have about 18.
Okay. Well, apparently I have 48, so and now I can have a lot more because
I hate my PSN name.
Expanded.
I wish I could rename my PSN name like I could on Xbox.
Just register a new one.
You can. It's free.
Yeah.
Make more.
Just register
make
a
as
new
many as
Won't
you
I
want.
lose all my friends I already have? I have to refriend people or whatever?
Well, that can't be that difficult.
That's true.
You only
I
have 18.
It's true. I don't really have the money, right?
They have some other cool stuff in the works. Dengeki Online reported that Kaz Hirai presented a new thing today, actually, Life with PlayStation, which is basically... It's got a little globe thing, and you can check weather and
We
news.
did it first.
It's kind of like the Wii thing, yeah.
Weather channel, weather.com.
But now the weather and news are together. You can get them both in one thing.
Are there cute little cats on the logo? No. We had that.
Call me when they get PlayStation Apartment.
They're also going to be having movies coming to the PS3 downloadable this summer. They've been promising this for a while, but it's finally coming.
America first.
Yeah, it's going to be North America this summer. They haven't said if or when it's coming to Europe and Japan.
Isn't PlayStation Apartment home?
Yes.
Which, by the way, you weren't here last week, but I was gonna take you to task, or not take you to task, but I wanted to hear how happy you would be that XMB in-game is coming.
Dude, thrilled.
Yeah.
Absolutely thrilled. I cannot wait to see that update. Like, that will be a huge step forward to them. I'm so happy that they're doing that.
Keep your eyes on GameVideos.com.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of that update, along with in-game XMB, we're getting the PS3 trophies. Which we got a rumored sneak peek at this week from PS3 fanboy. This isn't confirmed, but it seems likely that a tipster actually calling himself the Patriots, who sent them this.
It's part of the Patriot system.
They sent them a picture of and you can check this out in our news story on 1UP. They sent them a picture of the different of what the trophy screen is going to look like, and it looks like there's 4 different types of trophies. You can get bronze, silver, gold, and platinum, and then apparently those trophies are going to be worth different amounts of points, and then those points are all going to be added up.
Trophies, schmofies. I'm excited about custom soundtracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also gain levels, though. This is really interesting. I think this is going to appeal to a lot of people even more with the achievement thing. Is like as you gain these trophy points, you also go up your PS3 account goes up in levels.
Wow.
And yeah, you gain levels. Each level's going to be you're going to have to get more points to gain the next level. So it's not just going to be that number. You're going to have the number of points and then your level.
Can I cash my level in for prizes?
Can I opt out?
No, I don't think so.
Can I just say that in-game XMB is the big thing here?
Yeah. That's
God damn.
I'm psyched about
Can
trophies.
you imagine me being able to send you a message during playing a game? I can't even fathom it.
Also exciting for the PlayStation Network, Square Enix finally releasing downloadable titles through the PlayStation Network. Only in Japan right now, but so far they've released Xenogears and Einhander and a few Enix games that never came to North America.
Including Rakugaki Showtime, which totally costs like $100 if you buy it normally.
Oh yeah, I've always wanted to play that.
It's
the
totally
treasure game, right?
It's totally worth 600 yen and not $100.
600 yen, which is about $5.
Yeah.
Dude, Einhander?
Yeah.
Einhander is the shit.
Yep.
But you do know
Xenogears, a lot of people love Xenogears.
But still, the elusive Final Fantasies aren't anywhere.
Of course not.
Anywhere yet.
Of course not. They're not going to put those out. They're going to
put Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross.
They've said that they're planning to release a total of 12 titles for the PlayStation Network. They haven't said if any of them are coming to North America.
When they do these, they don't recode them for widescreen support, do they?
I don't think
Probably
so.
not.
Yeah, so it's still
because what I'm curious about,
although these will work on PSP via remote play.
What I'm curious about too is because the other PS1 titles that have been released on PlayStation Network are basically just emulations. So I'm curious about how Xenogears works with like disc swapping and such.
People already have it, so.
I just can't get over. I was so addicted to Einhander.
It's a good game.
Like picking up the different weapons and oh man, that was so fucking awesome.
That was a great game.
Speaking of difficulty, that is a game where you have to play it on the hardest difficulty to fight the real last boss. I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Really?
I have a copy of Einhander. I've never played
good
it.
Shit.
Oh, you should definitely play it, dude.
Dude,
Garnet just
seriously?
got this look on his face like he was totally disgusted.
You're
with
fired.
Me.
You need to go home. You really should go home. Like if
no,
you
I
like
do. It's on my pile of shame.
But do you like shooters at all?
Yeah, I like
a shooter doesn't belong in your pile of shame. A shooter is like a 20-minute investment.
Just spend half an hour and play with it just for a minute because you'll be hooked. You'll play like, oh my god, this is so cool. Why has no one done that?
I think we fire Philip like 7 times a week.
That's actually true, yeah. And I get rehired every time. It's amazing. All right, the 360 people also have some stuff to be excited about. We just got this, remember, this is breaking news, actually. I just got it before we came down here. $50 Xbox 360 premium price drop probably in the works.
Kmart says yes.
Yes, some people
flyer.
on the forums. There's a Kmart sales sheet that leaked, which advertises $50 price drop.
Isn't it weird they would drop the price the week before E3?
Yeah,
kind of
July 6th is the rumored date.
I know. Usually you wait till E3. But.
And it will be bringing its price down, the premium version down to $299. The flyer didn't show whether or not the other versions but presumably the other SKUs will get price drops as well.
Microsoft's going to have to start lowering the price on their hardware so that when the third-party manufacturers step in, there'll be a noticeable price difference.
I think the third parties can set whatever price they want for their upcoming Xbox.
That's what I'm saying.
Xbox 360 compatible hardware.
But if Toshiba's selling a Blu-ray compatible 360 with a 500 gig hard drive, Microsoft wants to be able to sell theirs. Definitely.
People don't know what we're talking about. They're going to have to read Quarterman this month.
If Sanyo makes a 360, I would like to be called the Try Again because the Sanyo 3DO is the Sanyo Try.
There you go, the Try Again.
Wow.
I like that. With
All
Netflix
right.
support built in.
All right. We also got some humorous stories from Dennis Dyack this week. Our favorite Dennis Dyack.
Friend of the show,
Dennis, if
he is a friend of the show.
Dennis, if you're listening,
is he going to be around here soon?
Shane,
I heard he might be around.
By the way,
here
not
soon.
only is Dennis listening, but Susan Lusty sent me a note the other day asking me when we were ready to play Sins of the Solar Empire against him.
Whoa.
I was like,
Wow.
oops, foot mouth, hi.
Well, Dennis, I'm curious, why did you go on this message board and start this thread?
Well, here's what happened.
Haven't your controllers told you you're not supposed to do that?
Here's what happened. Dennis Dyack went on to the NeoGAF message boards.
Oh, dear. This is not going to end well.
Slippery slope.
He started a thread
Bail
that
out.
basically said, this is what he said to NeoGAF. If you're confident that Two Humans is going to be a letdown, he wanted them to state their belief unequivocally in the thread. And if after playing it, they turned out to be right, Dyack's going to accept the forum tag owned by the GAF.
Popcorn.gif.
If they're wrong, however, they have to have the tag owned by Two Human. He said, these are direct quotes here, I think there's going to be a lot of trolls crying here. I feel Two Human is a great game, likely to be better than most that will come out this year. I certainly feel it is the best game we've ever made, and I also believe press and gamers alike will believe this.
He's got balls.
And if he's wrong, he's going to have the tag owned by the GAF on NeoGAF.
And in the grand scheme of things, that just,
Wow.
yeah.
Eternal Darkness set the bar pretty high, so we'll see what happens.
And if you're interested in why he would possibly do this, we had a recent investigative piece in our features called Chairman of the Boards, talking about the influence of message boards. You might want to go check that out.
Good plug.
Thank you. And then,
and Cliffy was lured out to the same message board one day later about his Metal Gear comment.
Yeah, that's where the Metal Gear comment came from, of course. And speaking of developers and their comments, we had the Limbo people finally responding to their game's alleged plagiarism.
Thievery.
Alleged? What do you mean alleged?
Not proven in a court of law yet.
Limbo of the Lost. Majestic finally issued a statement Tuesday via GameSpot. They said, this is from their statement, we, the development team, have given our consent and full cooperation to both publishers who are recalling all units from all territories immediately. Please be assured that we do not condone in any way the use of unauthorized copyrighted materials, and if we had been made aware earlier, we could, of course, have ceased development of the product and rectified the issue prior to publication.
Who are they blaming?
So it's somebody else's
They're
fault.
saying they had no idea that there were copyrighted or
Really?
otherwise materials that they did not create.
Who's the guy?
I guess it's a 3-person team at Majestic. I think what they're trying
one
to
of those
allege,
guys was crazy.
I think what they're trying to allege is that they might have got contracted artwork or something,
Sure.
and that whoever they got to do that might have given them stuff that was from other games.
Such a shame that a great game like that would never be able to play it again.
We're getting it. We're getting a copy in here.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be
It's
exciting.
like a Moby Games color forms where like peeling off different pieces and sticking them together. Like
It's Mad Libs.
It's better than Mad Libs.
One of our favorite controversies from a couple of years ago that kind of fizzled out, the whole hot coffee thing. Turns out that only 2,767 people ever filed claims for GTA San Andreas.
Well, what's funny is I saw like the ad that showed you how to file a claim. It was in Playboy, and it wasn't in any gaming magazines. Like, it wasn't in our magazine.
Really?
So,
we didn't run it?
Yeah, I saw it in Playboy.
Well, not many people filed claims for it. According to the New York Times, they did a report about basically anybody who bought it, who purchased the title before July 20th, 2005, was eligible to file a claim. And by the figures that were out there, about 2.3% of the people who purchased it ever actually filed. Kind of an interesting side note to that, the plaintiffs' attorneys for this court case, they are asking for $1.3 million in legal fees. Compared to the very little amount that they actually Take-Two Interactive's lawyers say they're spending $30,000.
Wow.
Plus the $24,500 sought by the plaintiffs. So basically, the people who are bringing this lawsuit to them are going to end up paying way more than they ever made.
As it should be.
Yeah.
You don't have any he who shall remain nameless tomfoolery this week, do you?
No, I don't. I didn't.
Oh.
I didn't.
He's
put
on
it
his
in
way
here.
out, dude. He's over.
We're not going to talk about
We're
it.
just not going to talk about it.
All right.
All
Move
right,
on.
this is exciting. Mega Man 9 confirmed for WiiWare, except maybe it's not. Shane, you don't seem too excited. What's the deal?
I'm so unhappy about this game.
So latest issue of Nintendo Power finally confirmed Mega Man 9. We'd heard previously from the Australian ratings board. It had been rumored to be coming out. The interesting thing, the surprising thing, it's going to be a downloadable game for WiiWare, possibly for the other games.
That's not the surprising thing.
Or for the other systems.
Say
and it's going to have 8-bit visuals.
That's the
And
surprising
that's
thing.
not good.
Jeremy Parrish has taken you off of his Christmas list.
I'm glad because
Perhaps we should pit you two together
as a
on an
hard-
upcoming episode.
Perhaps.
Of this
perhaps we shall.
podcast.
But as
Yes,
a
we
hardcore
should.
Mega Man fan who loves Mega Man for many years, I want Mega Man 9, but I don't want it to look like Mega Man 6. I want it to look like Mega Man 8 or better.
It's too
Shane,
retro.
Shane, I was going to ask you this off air, but I'm just going to ask you on. You versus Jeremy Parrish tomorrow, 1UP FM.
Do it.
Talking about this.
Do it.
Come on.
Do it.
Do it. Done.
Do
Confirmed.
it.
I'm already scheduled to teach those kids about Dark Tower, but I can do both.
Don't worry
Do
about
it.
it.
Don't worry about it.
So yeah, it's
I'm also completely against Splash Woman. Keep her out of there.
yeah. Well, they did release a list of the roster of bosses.
Daryl Hannah?
They've got
Daryl
my favorite's Plugman, and he's clearly going to be his power is going to be used to defeat Splash Woman, which is kind of gross.
Man.
Plugman sounds like the support guy for Electro Man.
Yeah, that would
so.
be Electman.
Like man.
The game is being
Sorry, it's
created.
been a long time.
Also, this is interesting.
Or
Developed
possibly
by
Sparkman.
developed by Intacreates, who've been handling. They've been doing Mega Man Zero series, the Mega Man ZX. So all the platforming Mega Man games on the DS, which haven't been bad.
No,
They've been good.
they're fine.
So
And I'm okay with this if there's also a version for Xbox Live Arcade and PSN that has graphics from the last 2 decades.
See, I don't.
8-bit was in the last 2 decades, I think.
I don't like this, but I respect it. Like I totally did not expect this.
if the gameplay is good, I'm gonna play it.
I want to see like modern day design in old dressing.
Yeah.
I'll say it's hardcore, but it's not what I wanted.
So you want to see an 8-bit Quake 4?
Yes.
That would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Actually, 8-bit Quake 3, maybe.
This will
Yeah.
probably be announced for Live Arcade and PSN because the Australian rating board thing said multi-platform. And we're probably going to have to get all of our leak information from the Australian rating board now because the SRB is going to be blocking them, they announced this week. The SRB, they've had a lot of leaks lately. They leaked Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, Lost Planet Extreme Condition Colonies, and a bunch of Virtual Console titles. They said to Next Gen that they are going to be getting rid of that. They sent out a memo saying publishers are now going to be able to ask for a reveal date for when their game will appear on the ESRB website. And if they don't ask for a reveal date, then it's going to appear 30 days after it's rated.
Makes sense. I'm just surprised it took this long.
Yeah, it's weird that it took this long. And we would get it's shocking how often games are getting leaked through the ESRB's website. And I'm sure that publishers were angry, but it took them a long time to do anything about it. We talked about Rock Band and Guitar Hero earlier, and we talked a little bit about the Beatles, too. It sounds like Beatles might finally be coming to those games.
It does indeed.
The Financial Times is reporting that that Beatles representatives are currently in negotiations with both Activision and MTV. The interesting thing, the Times words it, they're going to create a Beatles-themed video game in a move that could pave the way for broader licensing of their catalog.
I do not think we were going to see Beatles songs on Guitar Hero or Rock Band. I think we will see a very expensive license go to one publisher and developer to make a Beatles game.
And like you said,
Hard Day's Night, the movie? Or the game?
Guitar Hero Beatles.
Game, yeah.
I think it'll be something bigger.
Like what?
Like what?
Like what?
Like the Beatles, the game. You know, like
But what is that? What is that?
You'll see. Like not what you think it is.
Okay. Well, the deal
It comes with its own yellow submarine.
The Financial Times is estimating
Controller.
that the deal will be worth several $1 million, and it may be reached within weeks. So hopefully we'll know something soon. We have EA Sports planning to start pushing a lot more peripherals. Next Gen's reporting that their executive producer and vice president something McCarthy. I don't have his first name. But he said, we expect to see more peripherals at EA Sports. You'll see EA Sports, even over the course of the next 12 months, use that peripheral strategy. And he also said we might see something at E3.
Hope you like spending $99.99 for Madden.
That's exactly right.
What the hell peripheral would you have for playing football?
A balance board. I don't know.
Virtual Gatorade peripheral, Gatorade barrel.
Virtual Gatorade bottle. Oh, you've just won the Super Bowl.
And his explanation of this wasn't very helpful. He said, one of the things we're doing is just looking at just playing with the Wii Remote in a different way, using a whole new peripheral that's out there kind of thing.
It's a turducken.
Like, what is that? I don't know what that means.
It doesn't make any sense at all.
He also said they're currently prototyping those accessories. So, yeah, like I said, we might see something at E3. We'll know next month. And EA Sports also unveiled a new Wii-specific line of games called All Play. They said it's designed for social play. They want it to be open to people of all skill levels, which is basically what they've been saying about their Wii games for a while. It just has a name now.
It's the label on the box, so people aren't confused.
Exactly. This includes they're going to have all-play versions of NCAA football, Madden, Tiger Woods, NBA Live, and FIFA.
Yeah, between John and Gary and their kids and everything, I actually kind of think this is a good idea.
Yeah.
This is smart. It's a good move. Let the family play together. Sports are something everybody understands. It's very understandable. Like, kids are into it. Your kids are playing soccer and baseball and that kind of stuff anyway. Come home, it's like good. I think it's a good idea.
And like we said, it's been what they've been doing with their Wii versions of their games for a while. It's just now they're going to have a title letting you know that their Wii version is different from the other versions.
We all play.
The weird thing, though, is that this is also really similar. Last month, they announced their new Freestyle sub-brand, which is they also said was sort of this is for people who have all skill levels, so anyone can play. But that was like, I mean, it's new games.
Dude, they obviously haven't heard Shaq freestyle because everyone could not freestyle.
What?
You know you heard that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, ending this week, we have a survey saying that gamers spend over $30,000 on games in their lifespan.
Is it games or like gaming, like
gaming
TVs
stuff,
and
everything.
stereos?
No, it wasn't Steven Stereos. It was console hardware and console games.
I've spent more than that already.
So have I.
Not including PC stuff too?
Did it include PCs?
Not sure. It did. Actually, no, it was console. It was console games.
But also console hardware.
This is GameStrata is the company that conducted this survey. They said from ages 18 to 48, the average gamer spends over $30,500 on video games and hardware, $765 per year for each individual gamer. Microtransactions and downloadable content are a huge part of this. They said 85% of respondents said they had purchased virtual products in the past month, and 40% claimed that they played 6 to 10 hours of online games per week, so online functionality is apparently a big thing for gamers. Basically just saying gamers are willing to spend a lot of money in their lifetime on their hobby. A lot more than a lot of people in other hobbies.
Big surprise. Maybe you should advertise on the One Up Yours show. Contact a sales representative near you.
That's correct. That's a good way to end the show.
It's a little desperate.
Hey, dude, you know what? I like
We actually have ads for this week.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we've heard them already.
Oh,
it's the same ad, but, you know.
Hey, ads are a beautiful thing. What can I say? Dude, you know you listen to the Shaq rap. What'd you think? The better story was Sheriff Joe Arpaio, because I lived in Phoenix. This dude is such a
You know this guy?
I lived in Phoenix. Dude, you don't live in Phoenix and not know Sheriff Joe. Sheriff Joe has been on like 2020. He's been on 48 Hours. The dude notoriously has tent villages in the prison in the desert where he has prisoners wearing pink underwear and feeds
no idea
them
what you're talking about.
feeds them
new game.
Feeds them green bologna.
What?
All right. I thought Shaq's rap was pretty good, but I thought that the fan-made Call of Duty 4 remake of Lil Wayne's Lollipop was much better.
Wow.
Call of Duty 4 already had a terrible rap at the end with the the
It was kind of funny. I kind of like that.
What the hell was Garnet talking about there? I don't know what he was talking.
Green bologna and
this thing.
Shaq got traded to the Suns, so he's in Phoenix. Okay. The sheriff in Phoenix deputized him, and because Shaq's he's been into Dare for a long time, which I applaud Shaq.
Yeah,
That's really Shaq's been really good about this stuff. He's been in front on Dare. He's been out there being a good citizen. So it made him a deputy. Then they promoted him to being a colonel and deputy. So then he did this he was caught by TMZ at some place freestyle rapping about how
tell me how my ass tastes.
Yeah, like Kobe, you ain't shit without me.
Right, so Sheriff Joe came out, and Sheriff Joe, which is really funny because Sheriff Joe is like a really hard. He calls himself America's toughest sheriff, and so he's done all these crazy stuff. He's been sued by many, many, many people and called all kinds of horrible names. He de-deputized him. He took his badges back. Told Shaq, "I want the badges back because you use the N-word in public. My boys don't use the N-word."
Wow. Garnet, save it for Sports Anomaly.
Arizona is the Wild West.
Sports Anomaly every Wednesday on the One Up Radio Network.
All right, we're done. There you go, folks. As Mike Lennick would tell you, boards.oneup.com, where the One-Up editors come to play.
Complain how long the show is this week.
How long is it this week?
It's long. It's very, very long.
At 2 hours and 40 minutes.
All right, folks, we're out of here. See you next week. Until then, we're Ghost.
This One Up podcast is brought to you by Hail to the Chimp from Gamecock Media. Hail to the Chimp is a fast-paced party game about 10 animals fighting to become the next ruler of the animal kingdom. Packed with bare-knuckle brawling, lush interactive environments, and a talking woodchuck, it's the best selection you'll see this year. Available June 24th on PS3 and Xbox 360.